Big welcome to the Mike Mitchell. How's it going tonight, Mike? Great to see you, man.
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Matthew, for having me on. Welcome to the family. I love when shows like this, are on the landscape because these leagues, XFL, USFL, all of them need coverage and they need passionate people who are in this space covering the league and bringing it the attention it deserves. So, welcome aboard. I know you've been doing this for a bit, but it's great to see you're doing a great job. So, thanks for having me on.
I appreciate that greatly. Yeah, it's been a process. We started an audio only show when the actual season was going. It was a whole different production style then, and now we're rolling with the live, and it seems to be much more successful, as well as just brings a lot more interactivity and stuff for the fans at home to keep up with. So I appreciate that, man, greatly. My goal here is to just bring us together, collaborate, bring some eyes to the XFL, and bring some positive media coverage to the league itself, as well as like spring football in general, and those guys that you really don't, they really don't get the coverage they deserve. So that's really what I'm aiming for. So I appreciate
It's
that,
the
man.
truth, and and there's a lot of unfortunately, with these leagues, because I've been following my whole life, there's very little mainstream media coverage on them. The only time they get any kind of notice is like if it's negative or if it's focusing on attendance or ratings or financials or whether or not they're gonna make it, survive. And so
Yep,
when
yep.
there are entities like yours, it's great that there's an outlet for fans to actually talk about the league, the players, the cool stuff going on. Maybe some stuff you're critical about too, right? But we're all interested and passionate about these leagues, and it brings everybody together. So I think that's awesome.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that greatly. It means a lot coming from you, dude. I was
Thank you.
disappointed when I actually went to the championship game in San Antonio that I didn't get to meet you there. I was looking for you hardcore, but glad now to touch base, man. Talk some more XFL. Maybe find out a little bit more about you there towards the end if we have time. I don't want to keep you on forever. Us as Americans and football fans, especially, we don't have very big attention spans. Got to keep the short and sweet and get to the point. So I appreciate you again, man. Thank you. And
I
yeah,
suck at short and sweet, but I'll try. I'll try my best for
hey,
sure.
you got the floor, dude. So far, I would say you're the most legendary guest so far on my show.
Thank you.
It's a privilege to have you on, man. So as far as I'm concerned, this is your show for the next hour, hour and a half, whatever.
Oh, cool.
But anyway,
Let's
man,
talk.
like I said, let's talk more football, and then we'll get on talk a little bit more about you and find out some more about your background. Looking up, man, like I said, I've been looking at you for a long time in terms of your articles, your postings, your tweets. Uh, Very notable. When you say something, you mean it, and it's accurate. So that's the biggest thing about you and your consistency and love for the game, whether it be professional, the alt sports, or whatever you're covering. So thank you, man. But
Thank
anyway,
you very
let's
much.
hop on.
Appreciate that.
Let's talk about this combine event. I know you got to watch it some. Let's get your general opinion on that, man. If you don't mind, just what did you think about it? How did that go? What good things did you see?
I've been following the NFL draft and NFL combines my whole life. I'm one of those crazy kids that used to do 12-round mock drafts. That's kind of one of the things that got me into all these leagues is analyzing and studying all these college players and everything like that. So maybe I'm probably going to butcher this, so I'll paraphrase a line from the movie Back to the Future. Is one of my favorite movies starring Michael J. Fox, where he basically says, "You might not like this, but your kids are going to love it in the future." And I think a lot of the combine features and a lot of the innovative testing is something that I'm not saying I don't like it, but it's something that it's going to take me time to get adjusted to. I love the fact that the XFL is trying to be innovative and forward thinking, and they're doing drills and tests and that are more, I guess they feel correlate more with football in terms of strength tests, speed tests, everything else. Because I'm an old school guy, so I'm used to 40-yard dash, the
Yes,
vertical
sir.
leap, the three cone drills, 10-yard sprints, etc., bench press, what
Understood.
have you. But I like the fact that they're actually, I think what we learned from the XFL Combine is they're really looking for the best possible football players using innovative drills. Now, whether or not proof will be in the pudding, right?
Yes,
Does
sir.
the XFL uncover like a whatever, like a Colby Tucker or somebody who was one of the stars of the Combine, small school guy, looks the part for sure. Do they uncover players, football players that maybe other leagues have not, because they're using innovative testing that maybe they feel is more conducive to finding. To me, the film never lies. I watched. Jerry Rice did not run a fast 40 time. It wasn't the greatest of athletes, but he had arguably was the greatest technique receiver of all time because he ran the most precise routes, had terrific hands, all that timing, hand placement, body placement, etc., etc. So sometimes the film doesn't lie. So sometimes these drills can be misleading. We just saw John Ross, 4.2 speedster, ran the fastest 40 time in NFL history. He just retired. I was kind of
Yep.
hoping he'd end up in NFL or one of these leagues, but as a kind of a redemption story, it would have been cool, right? But just having that speed alone, the 40-yard dash speed, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to. Unfortunately for him, I'm not saying that injuries and otherwise, who knows what happened with John Ross, but just having that because in the NFL and any pro league, no good defender is going to allow you to run 40 yards unimpeded. Then without they're going to check you at the line of scrimmage. They're going to bump you. They're going to press you. They're going to force you to go a different way. You're going to use their body and positioning to interrupt your route and your speed. So you need more than just 4.2 speed. It helps, right? But
Yes, sir.
so I think that's what stuck out to me. I think if you were expecting from the XFL Combine to be like the NFL, maybe you tuned into it. Maybe you were underwhelmed, because a lot of what they did was kind of like bare bones. And KJ Sales, I think, and Acho did a tremendous
Yep.
job
Yep.
there. And I love the interviews with all the personnel guys. Von Hutchins always stands out to me. All the other guys who were interviewed too, personnel guys like Lilla Bridge, etc. These guys were
Yes, sir.
all very impressive.
Yeah, I
So
enjoyed
that
it.
was cool. Yeah, me too. I enjoyed it too. But I think if you went into the expectation that it was going to be some glitzy ESPN, NFL Combine esque NFL Network thing, I think maybe you were disappointed.
Agreed.
But so I think maybe you could focus more on the players. I think maybe you can put their names up. I know the league is a little bit because we're in a space now where they're competing with another league in the space. So where maybe they don't want to reveal too much of their information. It's not like the XFL in 2018, 2019, leading into 2020, where they actually just revealed everybody who's in their draft pool. This
Yes,
league
sir.
wants to be a little more secretive with who's in there. But, they did show test results. They did give out names. So maybe they didn't have video packages for each individual players and full stories on all the players who are working out and interviews with them, etc. Like to the extent that maybe people wanted. But I think it was cool. I think they need to do more of that stuff to get people inside the league, and I think people who are open-minded and old heads like me need to like be more open-minded about the innovations they're using, the different testing they're using for strength and speed. Um, and so some of the guys are going to stand out more than others, but based on those numbers that they put there, and we'll see how many of these combine participants are actually drafted and play in the league. The ones that do, it's going to be make for a great story, but it's not
Yes, sir.
guaranteed that it's not guaranteed. There's already a lot of players on each XFL roster. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
then you've got a draft upcoming that's going to be NFL cuts, and you're going to see like last year when it was over 2 dozen NFL practice squad players who finished the year on NFL teams. Those guys will be late arrivals into the XFL. And you see
Yep.
like guys like Michael Bandy and others who signed with NFL teams again with the Broncos, I believe. After he finished the year signing a futures contract with the Chargers and actually got game action, and then signed with the Roughnecks in the middle of the season. So this whole process is ongoing and fluid. So it'll be interesting to see how many of these combine guys. Guy I'm rooting for in this space is Calais Robertson. He's been trying to get into one of these leagues for the longest time. He graded out very well in the strength portion and other areas as well, but definitely in the strength portion of these innovative drills. And so I'd like to see him get a shot with the rosters expanded to 90 because he's been working so hard. He hasn't given up on his dream. And that's what these leagues are about, providing opportunities to the guys who are overlooked and the guys who are extremely under the radar. So it's cool to see. I enjoyed the whole process.
Yes, sir. I mean, any athletes in that combine? I know you mentioned Kobe. What about? Is there anyone else there that you're watching closely? Anybody that you're really excited to see?
Sure, I hate to just focus in on the speedster, but you got the all ACC sprinter Brandon Outlaw, right, from Virginia player USC. He had the best max velocity speed. I think it was like 23.26 miles per hour. I find players like that fascinating, even though he was a backup player. See, that happens too in college football. Is you have a lot of talented athletes that don't get an opportunity to crack. you're USC in Virginia, it's not easy starting. It's not
No,
easy getting
sir.
on the field. So, I mean, you could very easily in college football get lost in the shuffle. Those rosters are so large. So there's a player like Brandon Outlaw. I thought Ryan Davis on the other end of the extreme, a guy who's a veteran, who's been in this space before, been in the AAF, XFL, etc. I thought he looked great. Anytime you have a guy who's polished college player who has pro experience. I think those guys have a leg up on a lot of these guys that this is their like first rodeo trying to show off in front of pro scouts and all that. So those are some of the players that stood out to me, I think. But I think and you see the test numbers and it's hard. I'm still that all in and still being honest, like I said, the Michael J. Fox paraphrasing from Back to the Future. I'm still trying to figure that out. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what this all means and how it correlates. I know that the league has done a very good job of explaining it. So this is more on me than it is on them, on Sean Hayes and everybody who's a part of this. But um, without actually looking at every specific drill, the quarterback drills and all that, it's hard to like just come away. You can write certain things about certain guys and go, yeah, this guy looked great, this guy looked great. But I think without actually watching because with the NFL Combine, what they do is they show you every single quarterback throwing, every single receiver running
Hmm.
routes. They break it down. They have that the name's escaping me, that drill where wide receivers run straight down the field and basically zigzagging catching passes from each direction. I forget what that drill is called now. I should know that, but and then each player is like basically dissected and broken down, like how they shifted their hips, their body control, etc. So I don't think we really. I'm not saying this in any way to be disrespectful to the XFL, but I don't think we really kind of got that. So if you were an observer, if you weren't there at the stadium and watching every single drill, like the personnel guys were and the teams were, it's kind of hard to go. I thought these five guys were great. I thought these five guys were the
Exactly.
best of the crop. It was kind of hard. What we were, and the test results and everything else. It's you're kind of on the. You're still you were an observer, but you weren't completely in the trenches to I can't really sit here and state these 10 guys are going to lead the league in multiple categories in
Understood.
2024. But I do like the Colby Tuckers, the players like Ryan Davis, guys like that I mentioned. Those are guys that are interesting to me. Like I think I like the small school guys. When you start seeing a
Yes,
lot of
sir.
these guys who test really well, and you see CC next to their name, the community college kind of players, you're like, this is so cool that these guys are getting this shot and that somebody in the league invited them because somehow, even though they slipped through the cracks, they somehow found their way back in them. And then and somebody noticed somewhere. So you never know who emerges. That's the cool part about this.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity's there, and most of these guys are player 54 candidates all the way around. They're really playing for an opportunity, and they're there because they want to be. Uh, so I mean, I totally agree with you. It is too premature to actually judge it unless we had these situational uh, drills and numbers that we can actually look at, and then apply those to teams that need those. Coming next year. Now, sliding on into that, since we got the topic going, let's talk about this XFL rights draft. A lot of commotion a few nights ago on Twitter about this. A lot of people excited their teams are getting these players and they're building towards next year. But here's the caveat: it's the rights. These players still get to pick where they want to go. Correct?
That's exactly right. And here's the thing: like even I've had a few people, full disclosure, within the league who work in the football operations, who told me, "Well, Mike, it's not necessarily a rights draft, so I don't know if you're framing that correctly." So it's strange because these teams got together and they see a lot of this is ambiguous because they don't reveal every little step of things.
Yes, sir.
But from my understanding, what I was told is if like two teams, for example, wanted Tavon Austin, right? Then the process you can claim a player if you're ahead of them in the waivers, almost like in the NFL when there's like a waiver system in play. So if multiple teams want a player, the team that gets the call claim him and gets first dibs on that individual player is the team that's ahead of the waiver order. So that's usually the way they have it set up is by
Understood.
last year's standings. Like for example, the Orlando Guardians were the first team to claim Chris Odom. Now, I don't know if people are too familiar with Chris Odom, but he's USFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2022.
They
He
should
signed
be
with the
by
Cleveland
now.
Browns. Yeah, they should be by now, right? He got injured. Unfortunately, got injured before he got a chance to make an impact with the Cleveland Browns. Very good player. Houston Gamblers, all that. And so he's a guy who Orlando laid claim to. Now, his agent went out there and let everybody know that, hey, Orlando's got dibs on my client, but my client's hoping, and hopefully for him, hoping to get another opportunity in the NFL. There's no doubt that a team in the USFL or obviously Orlando in the XFL would love to have him. But he's hoping, with a lot of these guys now as we're going through NFL training camps and preseason coming, a lot of these guys are hoping to latch on in the NFL. That's a lot what this is all about for a lot
Yes,
of these
sir.
guys, right? So as far as the rights draft goes, and like circling back to that, there's so much to cover with that topic. These players are not signed. It's not too different. Another league that I cover, I actually have the CFL on in the background right now. I'm crazy, man. I have to write a CFL power rankings article for CFLnewshub.com. So anyhow, but the CFL has negotiation rights. So, matter of fact, there are XFL players on CFL like Jordan Tiamo in the past, PJ Walker, Taylor Heineke, even Alex Magoo from the USFL has been on CFL. Basically, the way it works is these teams kind of call dibs, and these are the players that they're allowed to negotiate with. There's no guarantee that they will join the league. Sometimes they do. Chad Kelly was on the Edmonton team's negotiation list. The Argos actually traded for his rights, and then they negotiated with him. And then now the Argos and the CFL are 6-0, and Kelly looks like an MVP candidate in that league. So we'll see how that goes with him. But this is similar, this rights draft. Although the XFL is very secretive on how they're operating here, so there's a lot of names on the list that may never play in the league. From my understanding, speaking with people within the league, with the Houston Roughnecks and with the XFL itself, Tavon Austin has expressed interest in joining Houston and Houston alone. However, his first preference, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and last preference is to be back in the NFL. He's posted videos out there of him working out with Geno Smith and all that. So they'll circle back to that because the XFL season doesn't start until 2024. Could he be a Josh Gordon type that plays in the league? He's one of my favorite players. He's like one of those guys. I've always been a fan of the underdog. So he's one of those guys in the redemption story in these leagues. He's one of those guys that I loved at West Virginia. I thought he was going to be a mega superstar in the NFL. For one reason or another, he's been a good player, but he just hasn't quite lived up to that potential. But I've always wanted to see him in this type of league, right? Whether it was the USFL, XFL, what have you. And so when I saw that name out there, I was shocked, and I reached out to the Roughnecks, and I reached out to the league, and they said, yes, Mike, he will join us. He has expressed interest in joining us, but that's for down the line. But Houston claimed him, and the other teams are aware that he wants to play for them. Now, maybe that changes. I don't know, but that's where we're at right now. So I'll believe it when I see it with Tavon Austin. I'm not saying he's not going to play in the XFL. He should be in the NFL. I think he makes sense as a back end fourth, fifth receiver in the NFL. I've always been a fan of him, so I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see him do great. But that option's there. So that's what these teams did. They claimed players. Some of these players are still in talks with the teams, and there's an understanding there because here's the thing with these leagues. Once the XFL season ends, once the USFL season ends, these guys don't get paid until mini camps, training camps start. So they're going months without a paycheck. So a lot of these guys are, it's a long time. And the majority, right now, you've got 35 XFL players from 2023 that have signed up NFL contracts. Reed Sinnett is the latest, I believe. He just signed
Yes,
with the
sir.
Cincinnati Bengals. A Joe Burrow injury. We'll see what happens there. That's back with all that talent around him. Maybe worst case scenario for Reed, he ends up on the practice squad, the place where he was last time. So that's a great spot to be in. But there are
I'm sure
35
he's
XFL.
hoping.
Right. He's hoping for it. And hey, he gets to work in camp. Zach Taylor's an excellent coach. They have a lot of weapons in Cincinnati. He'll get live action, live rounds in the preseason. Maybe he'll get a chance. NFL teams now, everybody's following suit with this, getting a chance, which is smart. You can dress 3 quarterbacks. That creates an opportunity for guys to play. Hopefully, I'm a huge fan of Joe Burrow. Hopefully, he gets healthy. He's ready to go week 1, all that.
Same.
But that's not a bad spot for Reed Sinnett, competing with Jake Browning, whatever. So, Trevor Simeon. So there's an opportunity there. But there are 35 XFL 2023 players who signed on with NFL teams. We'll see if that grows in the coming days. A lot of those guys are hoping that they get it. They'll get paid now, and they'll get paid during the preseason. A lot of those guys might end up on practice squads, getting paid there as well, and then maybe their journey ends on the practice squad. They don't get an opportunity, or maybe they only get elevated for one game during the NFL season, and the XFL is still standing there. In the meantime, they made money in the NFL, and they can go play in the XFL and get more playing time. So it works out. So a lot of these players right now, they don't have pay coming their way. They don't have any. Those checks ended once made. Defenders players made almost like Abram Smith, who played a full season, was fully involved in training camp, made close to $90,000. Would have made more if they won the
Oh wow,
championship game because of the bonus. He
that was
made
with
close
his
to 90.
bonuses, correct?
Yeah, that is with his win bonuses. I did an article about this. If people listen to the DC Defenders press conference after they won the East Championship, right, beating the Dragons or what have you, or the North, or however you want to phrase that, they basically came out and said, the Defenders were screaming in the background, richest team in the league. And the reason because at that time they had made, if you were an active player for all 10 games and the playoff win, because they jumped up the win bonus. They made, I think, I want to say it was like 88,000 thereabouts at that. No, 82,000. I'm sorry. And then if they had won including training camp, you had been through training camp because it's $500 a week for training camp, whatever, and then all that, they would have made over $90,000. Abram Smith, for example, who was healthy the entire season, he made close to $90,000 on the year.
What's that, about 7 months there? How many months are we
Yeah,
talking?
we're talking about. So they had training camp in January. So we're talking about what, almost 5 months against January,
Gotcha.
March, April, May. So 5
that's
months.
really good.
Not bad. Almost 90 grand. And then we'll see what happens with Abram Smith. It's kind of like a crime to me that he's not on an NFL roster right now. I could think of a few different teams where he'd be perfect.
No doubt.
Back, ready to be a bell cow, like Arizona Cardinals, behind like a Connor or somebody like that. There's another running back in the other league. There's a lot of great players in both these leagues. Mark Thompson, who's been fantastic for 2 years in a row for the Gamblers in the USFL. Surprised he's not in the NFL. I know there's some character concerns there from his past, etc. But I see a guy like Thompson. I see a guy like Abram Smith. They should be on an NFL roster trying to make it. So maybe it'll still happen from Abram Smith. So of the 35 guys in the XFL that have signed, the Abram Smith happens to be, there's another player. Michael Joseph's another guy. Ja'Cory Pearson. I can't believe he's not on a roster.
Yeah, that one's hard to believe for me as well.
It's very difficult. Sometimes it's you need the right situation, the right timing. There are a lot of different factors latching on the back end of a roster. If you're a running back, they want to make sure you're a pass receiver, that you return kicks, that you play specials. In the case of Ja'Cory Pearson, he probably would have benefited in the XFL from playing more special teams, because if he wants to latch onto the NFL. Because when you come into the situation now and you join an NFL roster, you're the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, sometimes 10th, 12th receiver. You have to have special teams chops if you want to make the back end of the NFL. You see a lot of times guys, the wide receivers who make it in the National Football League from these leagues are guys that have that background, that are kick returners, that are punt returners, that can play wide receivers. So Pearson, size is working against him too, because he obviously has great speed, or 2 times speed. But size is an issue, and then it's finding a home. Most NFL teams are set. When every NFL
receiver, especially, no doubt,
they're set. They have their top 4 guys. They have their outside receivers. They have their slot receivers, and then after that, you got to try to make it as the 5th, 6th. That's why a guy like Cam Phillips, who broke records at Virginia Tech, and was a good player, ended up on the Bills practice squad. He had struggled to make an NFL roster. He went to the XFL in 2020. Was an unbelievable standout. 5 games, 10 touchdowns, or whatever it was, something ridiculous like that. He's in the CFL. He led the Argonauts, helped them win a Grey Cup, and he led the team in receiving in the Grey Cup when they won last year. So a lot of XFL 2020 players doing really well in the CFL, Sean Oakman among others. But that's the thing. It's not easy to make these rosters. It's a slim margin, and you need to be able to do more than just one thing sometimes. So some people you see a Ja'Cory Pearson, Abram Smith, you go, what the hell? Even Josh Gordon. We know Josh Gordon can play on the NFL level, but as a veteran receiver, older guy, he's not extremely old, older guy, Gordon is not a 5th or 6th receiver in the NFL. 5th or 6th receiver in the NFL has to return kicks, cover kicks. Josh Gordon, I'm not saying you can do it if you ask him to. Josh Gordon is the profile of a starting receiver. He's not a profile of a guy who's going to cover punts and kicks.
Yes, sir.
And so it's kind of hard. And then he's older, so the NFL is looking to skew younger. So there are some massively talented XFL 2023 and USFL players that are not in the league yet, because you just got to find the right opportunity.
Yeah, that's the big thing here is the opportunity. Every day that we see an injury happen, we get a call up, whether that's USFL or XFL. I've noticed, that
Yeah, and it's
unfortunate for the
ongoing. It's
player.
right,
Yep.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
hey guys,
ongoing.
I
It's
want to
fluid
say
during the season.
real quickly, there's a storm going on around me. It just popped up. So if I do get disconnected, I'll jump back in. Just hang out for a second, Mike, and I'll jump back in as soon as possible.
Sure.
It's just a
I've
lot
been
of
hit.
noise
I've
going
been
on in
hit
the
with a
background.
my neck of the woods. I've been hit with a lot of flash flood warnings, tornado watches, all that fun stuff. I'm in Western Mass, so we've been
That's what
hit
I was
with a
about to
lot of
ask.
that.
Where were you? So
Yeah,
you're a New York guy, though, right?
I am. Yes, born
Gotcha,
in
gotcha.
Brooklyn, raised in Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan. So those have been
That's
my
awesome.
my stomping grounds in New York. Yes.
So as I was saying though, as we were talking about, it's about the opportunity, no doubt, and a lot of these guys are getting that opportunity. And from my opinion, when they're getting the tryouts, when they're getting to come to camp, most of them are showing out and they're coming ready and they're getting what they want, and whether it be another call somewhere else or the actual contract. I mean, so I'm pretty pleased with what's going on so far with the XFL. I think this developmental type, this is what we want, and this is going to make us
And
better.
and here's the thing, Matthew. What makes the I know for most fans, not crazy maniacs like me, the preseason is boring. You can't wait till the NFL regular season comes. I feel you. But for maniacs like me who's into these leagues, the preseason is a lot of fun now because not only are you looking for future XFL, USFL players now, because there are guys, this is what I did watching preseason games. I saw PJ Walker a few years ago for the Colts. He's starring in the preseason, and then boom, he comes in the XFL and he lights it up in 2020. This year, you'll be watching preseason games for guys like Jontre Kirkin last year in the preseason was awesome. He ended up playing really well in the XFL. You're going to see players during the preseason. You go, oh man, he didn't make the Colts. Oh man, he didn't make the Bengals. I hope he signs with the XFL. And now this year, the added focus of it is now you actually watch XFL players and USFL players play in preseason games. You watch Ben DiNucci. You're going to watch Alex Magoo. All these different players are playing in these. Hakeem Butler. That's even the funny part about it too. Like Hakeem Butler is a battle hawk from 2023. He's in practice trying to catch passes over Kenny Robinson, who was a 2020 battle hawk, who was actually drafted into the NFL. He's now with the Steelers, Kenny Robinson. So then he came straight out of the transfer portal, went to the XFL, and he ended up getting drafted, an XFL player drafted by an NFL team initially with the Carolina Panthers. So these preseason games are a lot more fun if you follow the XFL and the USFL because you're going to see a lot of your favorite players that you just watched finish out a season play there, and then you root them on. And hopefully, these teams are very wise, like the XFL teams. Ben DiNucci throws a touchdown pass or whatever, put it on your social media, hype that up because
Yes, sir.
he was doing that last. He was doing that last preseason too. So it makes the summer games a lot more fun to watch because not only you're watching future players in these leagues, but you're watching players that you just watched all season play in the XFL.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, got a couple questions. Jay the Mime, he's on YouTube. He's asking, but let's see what this says. Former NFL players starting to look at the XFL as another option as their step down league to play in. I mean, that's a little harsh wording, but I mean,
I
it
know. I
makes
get what he's
sense.
saying. I get what
Yep.
he's saying. One of the big selling points of the XFL amongst other things, right? The win bonus structure helps, but the USFL salary is similar, the average salary, but the selling point is the calendar. So the calendar is more conducive. That's not to say that USFL players, and right now I think there's over a dozen USFL players who sign with NFL teams, and there's a lot of good players in that league that deserve opportunities. But there are a lot of NFL teams right now that are either at or close to their maximum of 90 players on the offseason roster. XFL players got to jump on them because their seasons ended in May. And so they got an opportunity to participate in mini camps and all that. So the calendar for latching on to an NFL team is more favorable for
Definitely.
the XFL. It's just the way it is, right? You have more time. Like a lot of these players, the XFL players that signed in May, they've been through many camps. They've had time to learn the playbook. They had all that. I think there are some USFL guys that are going to do really well. Like maybe I'm overhyping them because I love these leagues, but I think Alex Magoo has a chance to be the number 2 quarterback in Green Bay. I know a
Yes,
lot of
sir.
Packers fans probably mock me for that, but I actually think he's just like PJ Walker and Taylor Heineke. He's going to wind up starting games this NFL season and surprising a lot of casual NFL fans. The calendar is favorable towards the XFL. I know some players and coaches that prefer the XFL because this is not a knock against the USFL, but it's the reality right now. The XFL feels like more a genuine pro football league because their teams play in their markets. They have home and road games and all that. And the USFL, baby steps. They haven't reached that point yet. Hopefully they get there. But like teams like the Generals and Stars don't mean as much because they don't actually play in Philadelphia and New Jersey. So
Yep.
so
In
I
New
think
Orleans.
that's a
I mean,
big. I mean, it's crazy. Like you'll see a USFL play and a guy will make a tremendous play, and then he's running into the end zone and he's celebrating with no one. He's not playing no home crowd or
yeah,
anything for him.
that's my
Light him on.
biggest issue with it, honestly. I mean, that I
Yeah,
don't have any other
yeah,
problems with it except that aspect.
yeah. It's quality football. The USFL
Yes,
puts out a
sir.
good TV product. They have good players. I like the league. I cover the league. The reason I'm into these leagues is because originally I don't want to get too far in my backstory, but the USFL is the OG Spring Pro Football League that got me into this entire concept.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. So I mean, and I still love the league, and I'm rooting for it. And I'm happy it's around. I can't believe we're in a space right now where there's actually prominent pro football leagues on major networks and channels, and they're trying to move on years three, two, etc. So that's a cool part. It's not a dig against the USFL, but the XFL calendar is just much more favorable for the
Agreed.
players.
Agreed.
Some guy, some guys will Cavante Turpin it, and they'll end up show up late in July, and they'll end up being Pro Bowlers. But it's more beneficial to guys getting opportunities, showing up, being able to latch on to NFL teams earlier. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, and what I hear from a lot of these guys is they just need some quality film time, and then this gives them that opportunity in either league.
No question.
You know,
And here's the thing too. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Matthew, but there
you go
are
ahead. Go ahead.
seven. Yeah, there are 17 XFL 2020 players that are still on NFL rosters. I use the term still because you got guys like PJ Walker, Josh Johnson, Taylor Heineke, Michael Dunn, Donald Parham. These guys, etc. Elijah Campbell. I can go on. These guys are going on to their fourth consecutive NFL season since playing in the XFL. They only played 5 games in the XFL. So there's already, not only do we know, like people who follow this space know that these leagues have quality players, but there's already proof of the quality of player that are in these leagues. I mean, the XFL in 2020 had an actual player drafted by an NFL team. Kenny Robinson, I mentioned him already, he's on the Steelers. So you got 17. So that goes to show you 4 years. That's also lasting power. So maybe what these leagues need to have more Turpins, right? Guys who make Pro Bowls and are stars, because then more NFL casual fans will go, you know what? I got to check out these, because that's what you need, really. You need beyond me. You need beyond the hardcore maniacs. You need to draw in the casual fans. That's why the ratings
Yep.
kind of have a limit. So they need to draw in the NFL fans that just kind of mocks these leagues, ignores them, thinks they're less than. It's minor league. It's not even really a pro league, that kind of thing. So you need what these leagues really need is somebody to merge. We've seen Taylor Heineke go out there, start a lot of games, win games. We saw PJ Walker start games, win games. But we need a guy. We need a couple of guys to emerge from these leagues. That's an absolute superstar that takes the league by storm. That hasn't quite happened yet. I'm from the OG XFL. I remember Tommy Maddox winning NFL Comeback Player of the Year, and taking the Steelers to the playoffs. That was cool. Everybody knows he hate me. Going to the Eagles, going to Super Bowl, Panthers,
Classic.
all that stuff.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. So, but you do need, I think these leagues in terms of mainstream credibility do need a player or two that, I mean, like just blows you away. Is the next Garrett Wilson, is the next Chris Olave, is the next whomever. Just somebody who goes into the league and takes over, rather than, this is no disrespect to the guys that are in the league, but the XFL guys in the league. But a lot of these guys, they're all quality players. It's very hard to get into the NFL and stay in the NFL. But a lot of these guys are quality backups. They haven't really. Some of them have gotten starts. Walker, Heineke, Parham, etc. They aren't really superstar. excuse me, Pro Bowl players.
Yes, sir.
So if you get a few of those guys from this crop of XFL 2022 players or the USFL or whatever, then I think more people will be apt to give these leagues a fair shake, a try.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Like I said earlier, that opportunity's been there. Look at PJ Walker. He had numerous chances starting quarterback, took over that opportunity. Didn't play bad, just wasn't the best.
No.
Same with Taylor. I mean, he led that Washington team to some key wins during his time there. I watched on TV, I mean, and it was pure him just killing it. So, I totally agree with you. Once we get a big name in here and some consistency, we're going to start shifting some opinions about what they think of this minor league football. But regardless, that's why people like you and I are here also to hype this thing up and give it a voice.
Right, the XFL has helped like Josh Johnson extend his career. He's with the Ravens now. I love it. He's got one of the greatest stories of all time. People like to mock him that he's lasted this long and been on so many damn teams, but I think it's awesome with him. But I
He's
think they
getting
need a
paid.
young guy. Yeah, there's no disrespect to Josh Johnson. I think the XFL, USFL, whatever, they need a young guy like who the NFL missed out on to come in, become a megastar in the XFL or any other league, and then go to the NFL and go, wow, the XFL discovered this guy. Nobody else knew about this individual, and now look how
Yep.
great he is. Boy, look how good. Now you see the worth of the league itself. So, anyhow, but it's fun to monitor these guys, and I'm the maniac who has it already in his brain. 35 XFL players, 17 from XFL 2020. So, it's that list could grow too. We'll see how it goes.
I think it'll grow a little bit, no doubt. Like I said, these injuries occur, and we're going to have more people getting swiped off the market, and then potentially sent back for our season. When it starts up next year.
Yeah,
So that
yeah, it'll
that's
be fluid too. Like
yep,
during the season, I monitor this. You monitor this. A lot of the fans of this monitor it. There's workouts every week. There's injuries
yep,
during the entire
yep,
season, so it's a
yep,
fluid
yep.
situation. So you'll hear maybe week 4, Jacora Pearson's working out with Denver this week or whatever because such and such got hurt. And even the guys who I remember, Taylor Heineke did not make a 53-man roster. Kind of a lot of crazy circumstances there, but ended up joining the NFL in the midway point of the season, and then
Yep.
it's COVID, all that. So just because a player doesn't make it in training camp or doesn't make it into the 53, there's still possibility that an XFL player, USFL player, whomever, can sneak on to an NFL roster and make an impact there. It's happened before.
Yeah, I'm looking for my guy Jack Henflin. Heflin. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's in New Orleans right now. I'm heading to the training camp tomorrow actually to check
Oh,
him
nice.
out. So that'll be good. Hopefully, I get to see him in action, see how he does against everybody else there. He's fighting for a spot.
Yeah, and it's great that these leagues are watching because that they're paying attention. That these teams, I give credit to like the teams like the Atlanta Falcons, the Saints, all these that are actually Falcons signed Chris Blair. They have young Wade
Yep.
Koo. They have Taylor Heineke. They
I
just
mean,
signed
Koo's
Godwin.
been key for them in terms of kicks. I mean, he's been
Oh,
a
he's a
solid
Pro
player over
Bowler,
there. Yeah, yeah.
AAF guy. He's just like
My
I don't know
favorite.
if anybody. Yeah. So there's some really yeah. So I mean, it's fun to see. It's fun to see like these guys pan out. Heflin has got a shot. A lot of people rave about him, like point of attack, strength. I'd be surprised if he doesn't at least make the practice squad there.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
versatile. He can play in a 3-4. He can play inside in the interior. He can move around. He's very strong. So at the
That
point of
that
attack, so
Saints
young.
defense is plagued with injuries usually. And being a huge fan, I know this. So I think he's got potential there. We'll see what happens, in terms of competition. One that makes a couple shout outs. Michael Lathrop, what's up, man? Just want to say hi to you.
Hey,
Appreciate you watching, bro. Great stuff from Mike, Player 54. He's actually got a show Monday with the people that actually implemented the technology or some of the technology within the combine. So check that out, guys. That'll be a good
cool.
one to watch. I had another question for you, man, before we moved on from this. How do you think the TV schedule looks for the XFL and USFL next season after the ratings? Does the XFL get more main ESPN and ABC games, and could USFL actually see less NBC/Fox and more cable?
From what I've heard, the XFL is definitely going to get more ABC games. They didn't have enough of them. I mean, they only had, I believe, it was 7 or 8 the entire season if you
Yep.
include the championship game. So, and from what I've heard, there's definitely going to be more. They're going to be a little more strategic this time. They experimented a lot last year, or this past season. It's the same year, but they experimented a
No
lot.
shame.
And late games. They did Thursday nights, Friday nights. They moved it around the schedule. So
Yep. Yep.
I think they're going to try to be more stable with their schedule, and I think they're going to have more network games. The USFL side, from what I've heard, is they're going to attempt because they had a very heavy over-the-air schedule. So I think they're going to attempt to have more primetime games because they feel their primetime games do better. A lot of the afternoon games did not do very well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there were some games that had 520,000. That's fine if you're on cable, but we really should be doing better than 520. There's a Generals game with 520,000 viewers on network television.
Yep.
That's not, it's not going to cut it. So I think the USFL, to their credit, streamlined their schedule. They made it so every week you know when they're on. It was top heavy on NBC and Fox. And for whatever reason, they struggled to get. They figured they were hoping from people I talked to at NBC. They gave me the streaming numbers for the championship game. We're not anywhere else. I was fortunate enough to put that out there, which inflated their championship number a little bit, but not as much as people would think. But I think to their credit, they try to position, they try to give it lead-ins. They want to still use that strategy. They're trying to rope in casual viewers. They thought in year two that they would have the people who ignored the league in year one, who were dismissive of it, who thought, hey, this league's not going to be around. Why should I even pay attention to it? Because that's a factor with these leagues. They thought that they would do a better job of corralling newer viewers. They heavily promoted it. They put Super Bowl ads. I mean, that's premium real estate when you have multiple Super
Yeah.
Bowl ads. It helps when your network owns the league, right? So I think you're going to see more XFL games on ABC. They're going to have to get a little creative when it comes to March Madness scheduling. They're working on that. They have to do a better job with scheduling games in terms of attendance. Can't have like 11 p.m. games on a Sunday night when people got to go to work the next day or whatever. You got to like really figure. You got to think that through, right? So we had like games are ending at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, what do you expect on
Yeah,
FX?
yeah.
What do
That was a
you
late night XFL, no doubt.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised it did 400,000 viewers. Like at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Hey,
So I mean,
the
that's just
XFL fan, we're hardcore over here. The people.
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yep.
The thing that the XFL had going for it, and this is something that carried over from 2020, is they scored really well from 18 to 49, and that's the most desired segment of the audience. That's the thing they look at first. All these networks look at. So the XFL was routinely, all their games were routinely in the top 20, top 30, top 40, most at most on cable television. USFL skewed older. Maybe I don't know what's going on there, but they skewed older. They did not have very many games in that range, and the XFL did have games in the top 10, top 15, top 20. So they did well in 1849, and that's something that Disney touted. Um, you got to appeal to that audience, and it's important. And so I think scheduling will help. Having more games on network television, promotion helps. There are a lot of. It's not about us. It's about the casual fans. Like you have to promote your league so that the NFL fans. I saw people when the XFL championship game happened, and Ryan Clark on his Pivot podcast had all these XFL figures on. It was an awesome show. A lot of people who commented on it who weren't paying attention to the XFL go, "Holy cow! The XFL season already happened. They're having a
Yep.
championship game. They didn't
Yep.
even know what was going on."
Yep. Yep.
So you have to create awareness for your product. You got to do it through social media and whatever avenues you have. You have to do a better job of promoting. So I think there were some flaws there with the XFL's game in terms of that. Hopefully, they do a better job next year.
Speaking of that, I mean, we saw Josh Sella. I mean, what do you think of that hire? I think that's a good hire, and he's going to make some big changes, at least in terms of the online digital end of things, in terms of marketing, advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's his wheelhouse, and I think that's important. And proof is in the pudding. I guess a tough marker. So I like I got to see you produce first. But yes, resume looks good, and I think that has a chance to be an impactful hire. But and Josh Sella has a strong background, and so I got to see how they do. A lot of it is the budget too.
Hmm.
What are the limitations? What are the restrictions? Do you have the green light? Sometimes the work performance is limited by upper management telling you hold up, slow down. So I'm curious to see how he does. I'm hopeful that he'll do a good job, and obviously the background and resume says he will. So,
Yes,
but
sir.
like I said, I got to see the results first. So we'll see.
Yes, sir. You definitely agreed. I just like that they're making the steps necessary, and from what I see, he's pretty active on Twitter and such too. I mean, he's checking out and he's doing his research on his end. Uh, I've got him. I've seen him. He's liked multiple posts on my end. He's followed us. I mean, he's following everybody that's in this community. So I mean, I look forward to what he's providing, and hopefully, I mean, that's the big thing, big changes
And
in terms of
yeah,
marketing.
and he's new to the show, so I don't want to put it on him completely. But what I
Yeah.
will say about with the XFL, and this is like I kind of look at these leagues like they're an individual franchise. Like if you're a fan of the New York Jets or whatever, and you're like looking at or the Saints, right? I look at
Yep.
them as so. if you're not getting better, you're going backwards. So
No
like
doubt. Yep, no
the
doubt.
XFL has to learn their lessons. If they are content and they think they did a tremendous job and there was a smashing success and they don't have to do anything better, then they're going to fail miserably and they're not going to progress the way they need to. If they can take the lessons they learned from year one and apply them, they have a chance to be better. The lessons learned can actually make them a better league. No, they gotta put it into play. They gotta make it work. So we'll see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna ask a couple more questions from the fans at home, and then we'll roll on. Ask you a couple questions, man. Get to know you a little better. Appreciate the insight. I mean, this is great. This is hearing you talk. Like I said, it's notable. People are gonna pay
Thank you.
attention to this. So keep up your work, man. I appreciate this. You're like a spring football bank of knowledge. We can just tap in and discuss and discuss.
I'm a
Um,
complete nerd. I'm a complete nerd. Thanks.
Nothing wrong
Thanks.
with that,
Thank you.
man. So this next couple questions is from Sockdim. He's a guy on Twitter that's following me. I think he's a guy. Either way, sorry, Sockdim, if you're not, but I assume. Um, First question, two-parter. Will NBC renew after year 3 for the USFL? B, the second
Um.
part,
mm,
will
mm,
Disney's
mm.
sale of ABC/FXL impact the XFL, and will they be able to get out of the 5-year deal? So I don't know if you can see that, Mike. If you need me to repeat that again,
I
let me
do
know.
see it. I got it. The first part, NBC renew after year three for the USFL. I think that you know what I'll err on the side of optimism. I know NBC wasn't happy with their overall numbers. They weren't like disappointed or crushed, but the USFL expected to do better. It's for in today's day and age, live content is king, sports is king. So like the bar, I hate to say it this way, has been lowered so much. Years ago, if you did 400,000 or 500,000 or 600,000 of network television, you'd be gone. You'd be the laughing
Yeah,
stock.
you're really
Now,
feeling
if
that
you've got
quickly. Yeah.
yeah, if you hit a million, it's like, oh, cool. It's like, so it's like, well, if you did that back in the day, that was a disaster. But nowadays, I think I'll say it. I'm optimistic. I think NBC will keep it going because it's live content. They don't have the same stakes in the league that Fox does. Fox has more invested. Fox is trying to drum up investment money, trying to get owners, trying to get these teams into markets. Fox is has a fiscally responsible idea. They're trying to these baby steps to get to the next level. At some point, surviving has to become thriving for them. So when Fox pulls the plug, that's when I think the USFL will be
Hmm.
gone. I'm not.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
think that. I don't think they're going to, but there's going to come a point. They're like a point where they're going to have to turn the corner and become a success, and not hey, we'll get some ad money if we throw in the USFL as a side deal. Hey, if you give us, we'll let you get on to this popular MLB game if you do an ad for us in USFL. It's got to get to the point where the USFL on its own is a strong,
Yep.
viable, and then as far as we'll see. I think NBC is just to me NBC is just along for the ride, and I don't think it's expensive programming. They don't have as much invested or to lose
Agreed.
with the USFL, so I don't see them just abandoning ship. Could they lessen the schedule, decide to put less NBC games? Maybe. Depends on the performance of the USFL. So maybe they can pawn it off here and just go to Peacock or whatever the hell. So maybe that's possible. I mean, maybe NBC's not going to be too happy if you're not doing a certain number. But I don't think they're just going to abandon ship. That's my opinion because you need live sports content. So I think they'll just hang. They'll come along for the ride. Fox is ultimately what's going to decide whether the USFL goes away or not. Second part of it: Disney's sale of ABC FX impacting the XFL. That's a good question. It's fair to consider that. Um, I don't think so. Again, I think Disney and ESPN are bullish on the XFL. In fact, I know. So I think they liked what the product produced. I think they see the potential in it. So I don't think they're bailing on it. Now, let's talk about year two, right? If all of a sudden the ratings like crater and they're a disaster and nobody gives a damn about the league and all that, maybe they revisit this. But the thing is, if that happens, Redbird, the XFL, they might not be around for year three, year four. So I know they're saying all the right things. They're under contract until 2027 season, all that kind of stuff. But I think year two is crucial for the XFL. I think there's going to be a year two. I think they have to show progress and be
Yes.
successful. I think these leagues the reason why Fox got into it is because they saw the success of XFL in 2020 and said, you know what, let's see if we can do this with our own league. And Disney was a part of it too. So both those networks see the potential in these leagues. And Redbird's in, Fox is in because they think these can be cash cows in a changing environment where people pull the plug on cable and all the cord cutters and all that streaming, everything else. The only thing that's given that has any value is live entertainment, and that's sports and wrestling, etc. So these are the only things that they're not invincible, but they give you healthy live viewership because they're trying to get live viewership so you can watch ads every once in a
Yes,
while
sir.
and now again, not skip
Yep.
through everything. So that's kind of how it goes with that. So I think
Question
you know
quickly.
what. Sure, absolutely, Matthew.
So the difference here, in my opinion, from what I've researched, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong. Fox actually has a buy-in stake with the USFL. I mean, they're part owners,
Mhm.
correct?
Oh,
That's a
they're
little
owners.
different.
They're owners.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean,
they're owners.
yeah. So the XFL itself, I mean, they're working towards that TV time, and they're trying to get it, but they're not they're not in the hands of a network. They're still having to hustle, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that a correct assumption?
That is a correct assumption, I think. And like if Disney was pouring in a lot of money into this league and it wasn't doing whatever their expectations were, then maybe they would bail. But it's actually easier for them to just they're paying. I know there's a lot of debate on this whether you want to listen to the Sportico, Forbes side, Sports Business Journal. There's a lot of debate. People within the league say they are being paid by ESPN. Sports Business Journal has dug in and said however you want to put this, the ESPN Disney is covering the production rights for the league. That's $20 to $30 million per year. They pay for all the on-air talent, all that. That's a big help to the league, right? So whether or not there's a rights fee beyond that, I don't know. That's in debate. The XFL says there is. They have money coming their way through the network. So anyway, be that as it may, Disney has less at stake. So like the individuals that are actually investing the most in the XFL is Redbird, Danny Garcia. They're the ones putting the money in. They have the
Mm-hmm,
most to
mm-hmm.
lose. So
Yep.
Fox is like that too. Fox has figured out a way to cut costs until it's kind of like a fake it till you make it thing.
Mm-hmm.
Fox is hoping year one for them and year two were kind of like infomercials. They were hoping to rope in, and both leagues, this is public knowledge, both leagues have hired investment firms to help them drum up investment money. So that's the goal here because they want outsiders to cover the cost because these leagues are ridiculously expensive. When the XFL's number came out that they lost $60 million, people in the industry were like shocked. Why? Because they expected them to lose 250 million, 300 million because startups, especially professional football leagues on that scale with travel and home games and road games and all that, they're exceedingly expensive. You
Mm-hmm.
spend tens of millions of dollars just on insurance alone,
Yep.
player insurance alone, without even stepping on the field. So when they saw that number, they were like, people were actually, I know some people saw the 60 million loss and they go, oh my God, what a failure league. Oh my God, they lost so much money. People who are in the industry saw that number and said, they got to be lying. There's no way they only lost 60 million operating 8 teams. How did they only lose a few million per team? Bullshit. If I'm allowed to say that, I
Yeah, you're
apologize
good.
for
Yeah, yeah,
that.
you're good.
But
PG
but
13,
that's
but
what
no,
that
yeah, that's fine.
gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, that's basically the sentiment there. So I actually think that Disney's less apt to bow out unless I think year two is important. If they get more ABC clearance and they get an opportunity there, more games on ESPN, but specifically on ABC, and they do better or match numbers because they average over a million viewers on ABC with only like one primetime game. I think the whole season of the championship game there. But so I think if they get an if they produce well on ABC, ABC will be happy with the numbers. I think this other stuff doesn't affect the XFL because I hate to be disrespectful to the XFL, but a lot of the Disney's cost measure stuff, the XFL is lower on the scale in
Yeah.
terms of that than some of the expenses that are going to other stuff. The
Yes.
XFL is like
Yes.
kind of like, and I hate to be disrespectful, but it's kind of that pickleball uh, category in terms of like they're not. It's ESPN and Disney's not putting in hundreds of millions of dollars into that, not just throwing away
Yep.
money. It's a fair deal for
Understood.
them. Fair deal for them for the programming they're
Understood. Yeah, I remember. Never forget the pickleball situation where we
That was
turned it on
funny.
for a game and we watched that for a good 30 minutes to an hour, I think. But yeah,
Something else.
Last question I got, guys. If you got anything, you can ask, but we're going to get on to interviewing him a little bit. Now, this was coming from SockDem as well. Could the writers' strike help get the XFL better network placement?
That's possible. I mean, that's something to consider. How long is this thing going to go? Is this really going to extend all the way until tomorrow? Maybe it might, but really extend all the way into 2024 when we get to February, March, April, May. So it's possible. Yeah, if you got less scripted shows, less stuff out there, it's a very good point. I just have a hard time. Maybe I'm naive, thinking that this whole writer's strike's going to go all the way to 2025, 2026. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's going to. I think at some point there'll be some resolution. But yes, that could benefit the XFL. If I'm not saying you should root for a strike, but I don't want to affect you. But I'm saying if you are a diehard XFL or USFL fan and you want to see your games get on better time slots and all that, maybe that. If you're a fan of wrestling, the longer this writer's strike goes on, you're likely going to see The Rock wrestling again, maybe against Roman Reigns. So, eventually.
That's
So
red
anyway,
flags right there, huh?
exactly.
All right, man. We're gonna get on to interviewing you a little bit. I'm gonna flash one more comment from a fan. It says, "Love the show. I'm glad to see you got the Alternative Football League GOAT on the show. There's no one better than Mike Mitchell. He's got the best inside information out there right now." And then that's the truth, man. So Carlos, appreciate that comment. I mean, that's why we got him on. He's notable. He's a legend in my opinion.
I don't even like referring to myself as an insider, or I know you call yourself the Insider Show. I don't even. I feel uncomfortable, but I thank you. Anybody who reads my work appreciates what I do. A lot of the stuff, information that I get sometimes is a lot of times I get information that's off the record and I can't really reveal as much as I want to
I
tell
found
everybody.
that's the most frustrating part about this so
It is.
far.
It's like kind of. I feel selfish sometimes. Like, oh,
Yeah.
really? That's who Vegas is gonna hire. That's so cool. A standing NFL coach, but I can't. And then but I want to break it, but I'm not really a cloud chaser either. So like, I really don't care about the cloud chasing stuff. So I don't. I'm not seeking out followers. Somehow I have them. I'm not really good at social media. So I appreciate any of you guys who call me the goat. All this stuff. I'm just a I will get into this in a moment for anybody who cares about it. But I'm just a super fan. I'm like you guys. I love the underdog. That's why I love these leagues. I love football immensely. So that's why I'm into this stuff. My fandom of the NFL and college football and the draft's why I'm into this stuff. And the information I get, somehow I get information, and then it is what it is. But there we are.
Okay, I said there was the last question, but this is a good one. This is a good one, and it may apply. You may not even want to answer this. Why do the annoying USFL Twitter trolls have it out for him?
I don't know. I gotta say this. I gotta say this. Like, I really appreciate the diehard USFL fans. I'm not a Discord or Reddit guy, so these leagues need you. They
Yep,
need you guys. You guys are. I'm not a tribalism guy. I swear to you. But
same.
I'm not into it. I swear to you. But I think these leagues they don't have enough fans. So I'm glad you're waving the flag for the Birmingham Stallions of USFL. They need them. I was a message board guy. I got into writing and all this stuff because I wrote on message boards, xflboard.com. It made me want to cover these leagues because other people weren't covering these leagues, weren't repping these teams. So if you got hate for me, it is what it is, man. If you're waving the flag for a specific league and you think I'm like I'm not paid by these leagues. I'm telling you right now, I got people in the XFL that dislike me. That
Yep,
I am maybe I'm gonna speak out of turn here, like the league president or whatever. To think that I'm anti XFL because I've said negative things and written negative things. So just listen to what I say, read what I read. If you don't want to believe me, that's cool. That's your prerogative. I can't live in fantasy land. So if you
yep.
got any, I want all these leagues to succeed. I'm hoping that 20 years from now, that people are still talking about these leagues. So that's
Agreed.
that's kind of where I stand. I got nothing but I want the Twitter trolls, the Discord trolls, whoever you are out there, you know, thank you for supporting these leagues. These leagues need you. So even if you hate on me, even if you hate because they really need you. You don't understand until you step outside of your bubble how mocked these leagues are. How much people hate these leagues,
Yep.
think they're ridiculous. So that's why I root for them. So because everyone mocks them, mocks these players, mocks the fans of these leagues. So I'm glad you exist. Your hatred for me, I don't understand it. But all right, go with it. Do what you got to do. Your make up fantasy world stuff. Go with it. Go with it. As long as you support these leagues, I don't care. I don't care what you think of Mike Mitchell.
I agree, and they've left me alone for the most part. But I have come out publicly and said, "Hey, I'm in support. Either one, I want to succeed. I'm not going to have a competition." And really, to be honest with you, in my opinion, if you remember, there were a few commercials that actually harbored this competition between the XFL and the USFL that came from the USFL's end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, Rod Woodson made a comment, "Our league is better" or something like that. So you get a little bit of that. So maybe USFL fans could say, "Hey, XFL said it too," but come on now. The
Yeah.
Hollywood knockoff, we're real football, all that stuff. Michael Strahan recognized the real. Yeah, and he had the Rock on talking about how great the XFL was on Good Morning America. So I mean, it's after week one. So there are some shots that are unnecessary. I get it though. It's competition. It's par for the course. Um, if you are the best, you shouldn't be even mentioning the other group. Honestly,
Agreed.
there's no need to mention it. That's how you
Stay
run it.
humble.
They're like you
Stay humble.
when you're when usually again I'm gonna get in trouble for this. Usually the number two is take shots at the number one. So I don't know. Neither one of these two leagues have established themselves where I can go. They're the best league. I'm waiting for them to see how they perform ongoing, and then I'll tell you who I think the best league is. But usually, the side that feels inferior takes the shots. So,
Hmm.
and then a Hollywood knockoff, real. I mean, that's just silly. Real fans. We got real fans over here. You cannot say we have real fans when you have stadiums with no fans in them. So
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
you can't. That's you can't. I'm sorry. That'll get the trolls or whatever you want to call them upset. You you cannot. If you could say the football stuff, but when you say real fans, do not be saying that with 38 fans at a Stars game. You know, so don't go there. So
It's the fake.
piss.
It's the fake
That'll
crowd noise for me.
it's the fake
That's
crowd
really
noise.
what gets. Yeah, that's the COVID
I,
soundtrack. Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
call
yeah,
it.
yeah. And some games are packed and have great energy. That's
Yep.
cool. At the end of the season, Michigan, it was nice to see them win at home and all that. EJ Perry played well, etc. But it's like, yeah, it's kind of cheap, you know. Hopefully they get past that. Hopefully 5 years from now, you go, remember when they had nobody at the games? Remember when the Stars didn't even play in Philly? Hopefully you get to that point where you can look back and say, well, they needed to do that in the early going so they can build up and be a strong league forever. But it's a weakness. There's no getting around it.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I know I didn't
sock
make
them.
a
You
lot of
got all
friends
the
with that, but
questions.
yeah, go for it. Hopefully my battery on my laptop doesn't die. I think I gotta plug
All
it
right,
in.
last one, guys. Seriously, last one. But this was just too good to pass up. And then you may not even want to harp on this, and feel free to veto this if you don't want to talk about it.
Go.
Down the line, for fun, which two markets do you think are the first expansion markets? That's
Ooh,
a kind of a tough one
good
too,
one.
considering.
I think
Oh, we lost him. Looks like it's trying to connect. We'll give him a second. Hey, I appreciate these questions, guys. Keep them pumping. Mike's good resource to find out some factual information. See what's happening on his end. Mhm. We'll give him a little bit to return. Once he returns, if he makes it back, I'm going to ask him a few questions just regarding him and his professional background, his life, just find out more about him. Yeah, let's just give him a second to return. I don't want to hop off yet. Most of the show was dedicated to Mike, so definitely want to get him back. I know he's making the efforts to get here, so no worries. But White, there he is.
sorry about that.
He's back. There you are. No worries, man. It happens. I told you this stream game. It's happened common. This is my 11th live stream, and everyone is a learning process. Everyone, there's a new issue. Everyone, there's something else to
The way it
fix. So
goes. So
it's all good,
we
brother.
were saying, I love the question. We were talking about expansion markets, right? Was that the question, right? So
Yep. There it is
I
again.
think I'm hopeful There we go. I'm hopeful that the XFL, although maybe unrealistic, goes into the tri-state area or somewhere in California from a business standpoint. I
Yep.
think those are two big TV markets. I know I'm a homer when it comes to New York. I miss my New York Guardians. So I consider the Cleveland Guardians and Fugazis and the Orlando Guardians. So anyway, so sorry, but yeah, I would like to see the tri-state area. I think, as always, you want to see something like San Diego. I think San Diego would be an awesome, the Bay State area. Not only is those are top TV markets, anywhere in that area in California. I think Ohio's a tremendous football market. I'm surprised that the USFL's in Canton, Ohio, doesn't actually have Ohio team. These leagues always do well in Ohio and the TV ratings. So those are places that stand out to me. I wouldn't mind a team in Columbus or in Ohio. Um, those are things that stand. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of cities right now off the top of my head.
Hey man, it's
Um,
your opinion, so it's no worries. I
I
mean,
think
this is
I think Dwayne Johnson has mentioned it like in passing, and maybe this is a sentimental thing for him, but he would love to be in Hawaii. Um, so the whole Samoan aspect and all that. So that would be
yep,
kind of
yep.
interesting. You could argue there are a couple of teams right now that maybe are relocation. We'll see what happens with the Vegas stadium situation. The Vipers. I'm not so sure about that move. I don't. I think that was a mistake on the XFL's part going into Vegas. So we'll see. Maybe they make it work. I don't see the upside there. So we'll see. But I do think San Diego, these markets, you got to go to markets that love pro football, and like the St. Louis market, right?
Oh yeah.
That you also go into markets that feel like they've been shortchanged. Like look at St. Louis, how great it's been for the XFL. Look at DC. DC, the DMV is terrific.
No, they
DC
love
is
it.
now hopefully Washington's going to come back around with Crazy Snyder out of there and maybe whatever. But that was a market that was dying for an alternative, right? Because of everything that's gone on there with the former Skins and the Commanders, and they're probably going to have the name changed again. So it's crazy. But I think you want to choose markets that love football. If it's not a business thing like New York or LA, because those TV markets do really well, you got to remember the highest rated non NFL game is the New York Guardians Tampa Bay Vipers on Fox a few years back. So in 2020. So those are big markets for money. So if you want to make money, if you want to get ratings, the XFL wasn't in those two big markets. That was a big factor in why the ratings were a little bit lesser this go around. I know the landscape has changed, so that played a factor, streaming, everything else. But those are places I like. I'm sure I'm missing something. Maybe Matthew, there's something that stands out. You got the Breakers. They should be in New Orleans, so maybe they will end up there.
Hey, if they were my way, I'd be there. Like I said, I'd be at every game. I mean, I'd have season tickets. I'd cover them, whatever I had to do. I mean, so I can attest to what you're saying.
Yeah, and I just think that I think like that could be a game changer for like that could help a league like the USFL if they go in New Orleans. Maybe that'll happen. We'll see. The Generals got to play in the tri-state area, so I do think there's some markets out there. I know I'm going to kick myself after this interview and say why didn't I bring up that? Why? But Cali strikes me. I like any team. San Diego's my preference,
Agreed.
but I like being in California. I know that you're competing against the sun. You're competing against a lot of things out there. You have to catch. I like these markets, even Oakland. I like these markets that have been kind of shunned
Yep.
by the NFL or that have proven in the past they can be passionate markets. Go there. Reward those teams with football teams. Reward those cities with football teams. So we'll see. Hopefully, I answer that well.
Yeah, yeah, you're good. So that's what. So do you think? Are we looking at the USFL? Are they going to open up to some more cities next year? Is that happening? Is that
They've been trying. They would the original goal of the USFL, and they're trying to drum up investment money, was to sell off these franchises to owners in the individual markets. I'm surprised they haven't found an owner yet in Birmingham. Um,
it's a
so
hot place to be?
yeah, and because they've been there for 2 years and they
Yep.
got an awesome team. So you would figure by now that somebody would go, "Hey, let me own that team." But they're trying to get there. They're trying to get there. They're trying. They want to. They're not in a position financially and profit wise to just let's just move all these teams in there. They're trying to avoid that. Otherwise, they would have done it already. They're trying to find. They found a partner in Memphis that had, they gave them a nice little stadium deal. So they worked out something with Michigan, and so hopefully that works out. That's not an easy market, but I think the Panthers have a historic run there. So they have some nostalgia there. So hopefully that works out in the long run. So we'll see. Like I said, these teams got to be in their markets. I think that'll again USFL ratings. That was they lost the ratings battle with the XFL because not only did they average less during the season, but they had way more big network games. The XFL had very few of them. They were on FX, and they should have killed. To be honest with you, they should have killed the XFL in the ratings. You
Yep,
got
yep, no doubt.
20 some odd games NBC and Fox, and the other league doesn't.
Yeah, if we had
So
all those games from the XFL and ABC, you would see an exponential increase in those numbers, in my opinion.
thank you. It's the truth, and there's no getting around that. So I mean, it's just the way the numbers are. I know there's some people who are whatever anti XFL that would say ESPN's just like Fox and NBC. No, it's not.
Yeah, yeah,
So
agreed.
it's just not. So it's not the same reach. It's not the same value. And if that were the case, then and the XFL did have a couple of games that were in that $900,000 million range on ESPN. But anyhow, but that's kind of like where that stands. So we'll see how it goes with these leagues, how they position themselves, what moves they make to better
Yes,
their
sir.
futures.
Yes, sir. Now, guys, that's it on the questions for now. You got anything major? I'll ask, but we're gonna leave Mike alone. He picked his ear pretty hard right here. Mike, I just want to talk to you more, man. Get to know more about you. Like I said, I tried researching you before this interview, just trying to get some basis, just trying to get something that I could bring up. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" But couldn't find much, man. Not much at all. But anyway, this can you fill us in on your background? Like where are you
Yeah.
from? What got you into this? What do you love about this so much that gives you this ambition and drive?
Yeah, I'll try not to bore people too much. It's really kind of modest. I played high school football. I'm from New York. I wrote about football. Um, I'm from the early days of the internet. So back when there were message boards and there wasn't much on the internet. I'm the early days of social media. So shout out to xflboard.com
Yes, sir. Great
because
place.
that was and they're still out there writing. I can't write on there anymore because I'll get in trouble because I reveal too much my last go round. I got in trouble for doing it because it's hard not to. When you get in a message board and you get into a thread and people ask you stuff, it's hard not to reveal stuff you know. So anyhow, but
Burner. That's what the
yeah,
burner's for.
yeah, I know. I gotta work on that. But xflboard.com, I started writing on that message board and back in 2000, and when the XFL in 2001 was going to debut, and Greg Parks was on there, one a terrific writer,
Great
and
guy.
we
Great
we
writer.
would share opinions and thoughts, right? And so just so happened I'm from the tri-state area, and Mark Nelson, the owner and operator there, was looking for guys who write. I guess people were somewhat impressed with what I was writing on the boards and my opinions and all that. And just as a super fan, somebody who's been a fan of the NFL and college football, who's an OG USFL fan, who's loved NFL Europe, the World League of American Football, the CFL, huge fan since I was a kid. I love all forms of pro football. I love the idea of the XFL. As crazy as Vince McMahon is, and as crazy as the concept was, I thought this was really cool. And the opportunity came up by writing on the message board to cover the XFL and cover the Hitmen back in 2001. And I got press credentials and I started going to games and all that. So this was like really cool. This is back when I was much younger than I am now. And so, we know what happened with the He Hate Me XFL. That league went away. Life moved on and still maintained huge football fandom and everything, but I just wasn't writing or covering anything. And then in 2018, strangely enough, I hear the XFL is returning. I seek out XFL board. I see they're still around. Wow, it was a kind of all these years. Mark Nelson kept it up,
He's still
and
rolling.
so
He's still
it's
going,
still
man.
rolling, still
Yep.
going. I love it. I love it. So, what ended up happening was this league's coming back. I love this concept. I'm glad another crazy maniac is trying it. Just so happened the AAF was doing it at the time too. Otherwise, I would have covered that league too. I was interested in that league as well, but Mark Nelson wasn't covering the AAF back then. So, I mean, we talked about it, wrote about it on the message board, but it wasn't something where individual teams are being covered. So that's my lone regret. I've covered all these leagues. That was the one I didn't. So anyhow, So I decided to jump back into it. I'm not a social media guy. I decided, what the hell? Let me just sign up for Twitter, share my articles, my opinions. This is something I'm passionate about. And then little by little, even though I suck at social media, I managed to pick up a following. And players reach out to you, agents reach out to you, coaches reach out to you. They're in your DMs, then you're in their DMs. And then all of a sudden, I started building up followers. And um, just started writing about these leagues. And then craziness happened with COVID, and then start covering the spring league. And it went over to XFLnewshub.com and cover. It was tremendous that now I'm covering the CFL too, league that I love, Toronto
You do a
Argonauts.
lot.
Yeah, so and then also writing. Then I get noticed, and I start writing about the New York Jets. I don't write about them enough. I just don't have time for all these leagues. At thejetpress.com. But that's kind of like my crazy story. Is I'm just a fan. I'm not a journalism major. I'm not a guy who, like, wrote at the New York Post or anything like that. Or any big publications. I'm just a fan like anybody else. And today's day and age, a lot of people who are passionate and start blogs and are writers and all that, you can develop a following. You can get credentials if you put in good work, if you're really into it. A lot of this stuff for me is just by accident, really. It's just something I'm passionate about, that I cover, that I'm interested in. And you end up getting credentials, some respect. I know I've got some haters out there for no reason whatsoever.
It's gonna happen when you're successful, man.
It's the way
You
it's
doing
the way it
anything
goes.
good, people are
For
gonna hate on
no
you.
reason. I've never, it's just funny. Anyhow, it is what it is. But yeah, so that's kind of my story. It's kind of boring. Maybe some people consider it lame. I don't have a master's degree. I'm not a big time college graduate. I'm not, so there's not a lot out there about Mike Mitchell. If you look up, if you Google Mike Mitchell, there's a lot of people named Mike Mitchell.
I looked into Steelers, Mike Mitchell. Do you know any details on that?
Oh, of
Yeah.
course, of
Okay. Just
course.
making sure.
He during the Jets once, he got into a whole fight with. He tried to, how NFL teams try to run out the clock by kneeling, right? That's commonplace. Everybody knows what that is. But Mike Mitchell tried to do the old "let me jump over the center and cause a fumble" deal, and that led into a fight with Nick Mangold, the center of the New York Jets, a few years back. So I didn't do it. He did it. But but it's such a common name, right? So but that's kind of the story there. But yeah, so that's really, and the insider thing. I honestly, I'm not. If you look at any of my handles, I don't put that down.
Yeah, taking
People
this
will
name, if you
people
would have
call me
had this
that.
established, I would not have taken it.
I'm
I
not even.
searched and searched.
And honestly, I don't really. This is the truth. I don't really like social media. Like, so I don't like tweeting a lot. I'm a writer, so I get writer's block, and a lot of times I will delete entire paragraphs. So when it comes to like Twitter and stuff, and start all over again. And
Understood.
so when it comes to like Twitter and stuff, oh man, you should see the tweets that don't make it there. So there's a
Yeah,
lot I don't send.
I know there's a
Um,
lot where I'll miss myself personally. I'll just miss a word or something, and it'll have 600, 1,200 views, and delete. Let's just start this over.
oh,
It's not a big
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the other night, I think I ran into that. I was trying to put in Gary and Conley. I know how to spell it, Gary and Conley, and then I had to delete it 2 or 3 times. I got autocorrect Gary and Connolly, or whatever the hell. I'm like, what the hell's going on? But yeah, so like I'm just not like, So when it comes to like social media and all that stuff, I appreciate anybody who follows me out there. I don't call myself an insider, but for whatever crazy reason, I do search for stories. I do double check. I do go through multiple sources. I do wait till
Yep.
someone
Yep.
gives me clearance on anything. It's fun to run with rumors. I try to avoid that if I can.
Same. Same.
So it's fun. Like, you hear a lot of, like, I when the Vegas job was up, I found out about Anthony Blevins, but I heard names. If you guys want to have fun with this stuff, Chris Dishman was interviewed for the job. He's not going to be back with the Vegas Vipers. He's leaving, so Anthony Blevins is going to have some changes to that staff. Um, a funny name. It's Gruden, but not the Gruden everybody thinks of. Jay Gruden is somebody that supposedly was in the
Gotcha.
mix for that job. I think they had an interest in AJ Smith, the Roughnecks coach. So Pep Hamilton's name was mentioned and all that. But the fact that they hired a coach that's a standing NFL coach is very impressive. It's
I
not
agree.
easy to who's getting interviewed for coordinator jobs in the NFL. It's not easy to get somebody to leave the NFL. So that's a pretty impressive thing. That could, if there's success there, that doesn't mean he's going to be great. We'll see if he is. Anthony Blevins. But if there's success there, that opens the door for more coaches that are in the NFL right now to leave the NFL if they have an assistant job and they feel like they're never going to make it through that glass ceiling and become a head coach. That opens the door for them to try leagues like the XFL to give that a shot. Rather than a lot of times these leagues they end up getting, I hate to use this word, but retreads. Guys who've been
Yeah.
retired, Jeff Fisher types who wearing flip flops at practice, trying to get out of there, go fishing as soon as possible.
Got to
You
get a
know,
check,
so
man. We got to get a
yeah,
check.
yeah, it's like a leisure job. Like, hey, I'll just do this for a few months a year. Like a guy like Blevins, I'm not saying he's going to be great. He might end up being horrible. He might be horrible at clock management. He might not be cut out for the job. He might. I hate to be disrespectful. Terrell Buckley the job, right? So we'll see. But if it does work out for someone like him, then it opens the door for so many others that are usually excluded. I like the fact that it's a special teams coach because a lot of times special teams coaches get ignored for head coaching jobs. I don't know why. They're involved in every aspect. They coach every player on the team, offense, defense. They're involved in game management, clock management,
Special teams
etc.
are very important in any
But
game.
yeah, so I'm happy. Like I've always thought, like Mike Westhoff is somebody who should have gotten a job as a head coach. I was very impressed with him. There's a lot of guys like that out there that just get ignored for. So that's what's great about these leagues is guys who normally get overlooked get opportunities that they wouldn't get elsewhere. So we'll see how it goes with him. But I like the idea behind the hire itself, and I like the precedent that it sets.
Agreed. Agreed. That diversity there, and it's diverse in numerous ways. As you just said, one, I could say three or four more. So, I mean, he's a man of color, and so he's also a doctor. So all those things are very
Pretty
good. I mean,
awesome.
yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. But like you said, him as a player and a coach, or him as a coach and a coordinator, it may not translate to a head coach. So we'll see what
We'll
happens.
see.
But
Maybe,
regardless, we'll
maybe.
support it. You know.
But that's the thing, like you can grow into the job. Like I
Hmm.
took a little shot at Terrell Buckley, but who's to say Terrell Buckley doesn't learn from his first year of experience and becomes a better leader as he goes on? His team played better towards the end of the year. I know
Much better.
much better. We look at the 1-9 record, you go, oh, that's not great. How can that be great, Mike? But they played much better. They knocked off DC. They were. I think he started getting the hang of things. Does that mean they're all of a sudden going to be contenders next year? Maybe, maybe not. But perhaps, like anyone else, after his first rodeo, he can get better. So it's a league of opportunity, but it's a league of they say development. It's also development for coaches too.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. I mean, all great points, Mike. And that's what my next question was: how'd you get started writing? But you just told us that already. You started with XFL board, correct?
Yeah, it's crazy. I started writing there, and if you go to xflboard.com, you check out the archives. You can read some of the articles. I get a kick out of them sometimes because it's written in the voice of a 20-something-year-old guy. So I was really pissed off at the media. The media was really hard on the XFL in
I
2001.
can't imagine back then,
Yeah.
man.
Oh my God, they were burying them. I mean, it was like a hit piece after hit piece after hit piece. You think these leagues get it rough now? You got to go back to then. They were like because the XFL made enemies. They
Yeah,
made
yeah.
enemies with the state. So Vince McMahon, that's on him, I guess. But I mean, they were really rough. The football got better as the season went along, and there were some really good players in that league that ended up playing in the NFL and having long careers. And so I think people were a little rough, a little too rough, and were just like too dismissive of it. I get why they were. I get it totally. But
Yeah.
I wrote a whole article where I went after the mainstream media, and when I read it, I can read it in my 20-year-old voice. I I know that it was much different back then.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check those out now that you
And
told me
they're
about
great.
that.
They're really great. My article when the Hitmen got eliminated from the playoffs, when they didn't make the playoffs at the end of the year, because there was like they actually it was like similar to what we saw in the XFL and the USFL, where they were like hovering over 500. They could have snuck in late in the year, and the Demons ended up whatever getting to the championship game to 5-5 back then. But so the Hitmen actually got hot towards the end of the year, and they almost made the playoffs. Believe it or not, it was a crazy year. But if you read that article, it's really well written. It's not bad. I hate to pat on my back, but it was really good. The heartbreak, how I broke down the game, some of my best work. Really, I
I'm
don't know if I can
definitely gonna check it out.
match it.
Definitely.
It's really good.
I mean, I think I was 10 when that league was occurring. So I mean, that's that only thing that I find. And I mean, I watched it back then. I remember it, but I was a 10-year-old. Um,
Right.
the old YouTube stuff, publications that came out. I mean, the news. So, I mean, that's going to be a
It was
good
a fun
resource.
league. It's so crazy if you go back and watch that league. If you actually, the games are out there on YouTube. If you go back and
Yep.
watch the XFL back then, oh my God, it's like watching a football league from a different planet.
Oh yeah, it's like
It is
wrestling mixed with
even if
football.
you even if you watch the NFL if you watch an NFL game from the '90s, you go wow, and watch an NFL game today, you see how different it is. There's head hunting, there's wide receivers that walk over the middle, the alligator arms, you know. In the XFL, it was so damn violent. It was, you have so many. It was there was if you like hard hits,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and if you don't care about the quarterback being protected, and I mean, and all that kind of stuff. If you're not big on today's modern protect the players at all costs, which I think is cool, by the way, but if you're not into that and you just want to go back and watch some XFL games on YouTube or whatever, and watch those games, and you're gonna see like some of the most vicious and violent hits that you and you can't believe that football was played this way.
It's awesome. If you, yeah, I mean, it's worth
It's
watching.
kind of awesome. It's actually I would suggest some of those Sunday night UPN games. I know how
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Maybe some of the commentary Brian Bosworth turns you off, but they're like openly on air talking about, yeah, hit the quarterback again. So I mean, it's a great hit. They're celebrating like knocking a guy out. I think maybe it's escaping me because I've talked so much football the last hour or so. But Casey Weldon? There's an incident during an XFL game where the quarterback is concussed and he's asking his teammate to hug him and he's crying. And it's not a wrestling, as they would call it, a work. I need to go find that clip. I think if I'm pretty sure that's the Birmingham Thunderbolts back in 2001, where he is hit so hard, the quarterback, that he doesn't know what's going on, where he is, and it's starting to cry.
I think I
it's
remember that.
it's pretty crazy. So I mean, that was a wild league. That was a wild ass league, but they had good players, and I was into the concept, and I wasn't so much into the anti NFL thing, but a lot of people were. I get why they got into that aspect of it. The
Yep.
Thunderbolts were a direct knockoff of the Charger uniforms and the logo and all that. It's pretty hilarious. The Maniacs escaped from an asylum.
Love the
So
Memphis Maniacs. Now that's my team.
that league has its charm. I still contend the Las Vegas Outlaws had one of the best brands. Like
Yeah, yeah.
the colors were awesome. Their logo was awesome.
It holds up today
It
still.
holds up today. Those
Yep.
uniforms were very cool. I think there was an XFL player this season. I apologize for not remembering who it was, who actually wore a Las Vegas Outlaws jersey going into the game. I can't.
I remember that as well.
Yeah, it's escaped me. I don't know if it was. I'm probably gonna make a mistake. It might have been a Battlehawks player, like Trey Watson or somebody like that. But if I made a mistake there, I apologize. But anyhow, yeah, it's fun reminiscing and going back to all this stuff. But that's like my as lame as it sounds to some people, that's my origin story. Going into that press box as a 20-something-year-old kid, and I saw a lot of mainstream people in that press box. It felt like I didn't deserve to be there. But when I got in there and I saw how they only cared about catering and eating, and you saw like all these near post guys and whatever, and they didn't care about the games, and I was
Mm-hmm.
actually passionate about it and I cared. All of a sudden, I felt like the professional who had an
Yep.
open mind about things, even though I was a younger guy, and they were seasoned pros that were
No
just
doubt.
mocking the players. I mean, it was just something else. It was interesting times.
Did did you go to any games this season? Did you attend in person anywhere?
Unfortunately, I don't want to get into too much disclosure because I'm kind of going through some stuff right now in my personal life. But um, I wasn't able. It's one of the regrets. I haven't been able to go to like a lot like USFL. I want to go to CFL. I have the Argonauts organization is very friendly and they have press credentials set up for me. But I haven't been able to travel, and I
Understood.
wanted, yeah, and I wanted to go out there and see the Argonauts out there in Toronto, and I would love to uh, go to an XFL USFL game. I just haven't had an opportunity because there are people that I care for that that are in the rough spots. So anyhow, I don't
Understood.
want
Well,
to. Yes,
hope that goes good, man. We'll be praying for you for sure, man.
thank you, Matthew. I appreciate it.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I'll say like that, like you said, you get in that box and it shapes your experience completely different. The things that I see and discussed in that place at least with the people that cared. I mean, that was the best environment for football / sports that I've ever been in. I've been in athletics. I've been a coach. I've been an administrator. I've done all these things in athletics. So, but getting up there and actually talking and caring and providing your insight and it being valuable, man, and you're talking with some of these people. I mean, from ESPN, Pro Scouts, different news groups. When I come in, it was different, and I was not ready. Like you, I'm not. I was 31 at the time when it started. Uh, so I mean, I was not prepared. But come game 6, come game 7, was going and rolling, and it was a good time, and it's something that I'll never forget. So I could see how that experience right there is very impactful in your past
And
and how you
something
got to what you are.
yeah, my love of the USFL in the '80s is what got me into the concept, and then I held a candle for that XFL. That experience I had as a football fan and writer and all that. I didn't forget that, so I remembered what it was like going to the games and covering a league. And so when this XFL came back, um, I was like, "Oh, this is great! They're actually going to try this." So many leagues have tried it, and it just hasn't worked
Yep.
out. So it was really cool to see even the CFL try to come into the United States and do American teams and all. I follow that league as well. So I follow those teams as well. The Baltimore Stallions are really good. So, but anyhow, but it's quite an experience. This is we talk about opportunities, right? That it provides for players, coaches. We talked about Blevins, all this stuff. It also provides opportunities for people who want to become
Yep.
football writers or who want to get into this field, who want to embrace this. And, whatever you are, there are guys who work at XFL Board, XFL News Hub, like Jay Noakes works for the San Antonio Brahmas now. It's his dream to work in pro sports. He's a social media guy there. And so you got a lot of these guys who are fulfilling their dreams on the media side too. Guys who host podcasts, guys who cover the leagues. So it provides opportunities for them as well, and it's really great.
Yes, sir. No doubt. Like I said, there's always a player 54 amongst us, whether it's in your job, in your life, or in athletics. It, take advantage of your opportunity and run with it, and be professional. Do what you can do. Be detailed, and just do the best you can. That's what I spout constantly in the show, and especially the first few episodes. Couldn't believe I was doing it. I could not tell me a year ago I was doing any of this, and I would have laughed at you. So I totally see what you're saying. And once again, man, I appreciate guys like you taking the time to come on a new show, come on something, and spend your livelihood and professionalism, just talking. So it's a great honor, man. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for having. I love the work that you're doing, and this is great. There are fans out there that really appreciate this. They love that you have a show out there. There's so many different shows out there dedicated to this. Here, Michael
Yes,
Lash was
sir.
on early. One of the questions there. There's so many guys out there that they don't understand that they're providing a great service. To people that are interested. So these shows mean nothing if there aren't people out there in Facebook groups and on even the crazy discords and the Reddits that I mentioned earlier. That
Yep.
that if it wasn't for them, these shows would mean nothing. So it's important. Now, hopefully, the leagues have more of an appreciation uh, for these shows, and you keep getting great guests and all that. There's a lot of great content creators out there that truly love these leagues and want to see them succeed for all the right reasons. So um,
Agreed.
it's cool. Thanks for. We're all part of that. To me, no matter what site you're on, the newsroom, XFL board, XFL News Hub, and all the USFL sites, whatever. I think to me, you're part of the cool kids. If you like these leagues and you support them, you're on my team. So
Yep.
that's the way I see it.
Appreciate that.
Whether you hate me or not, you're on my team. We're on the same we're on the same side, but we all owe it to each other to do a good job.
Yep.
I hate to get into that whole gatekeeping police stuff, but there are people outsiders who see us and they kind of look down on the bloggers, the fan sites, all that. So it's kind of important to show them. I hate to say it this way, show them up and
Yes.
do a great job. Like say, hey, no, we're legit. We're not just some goofballs. you
Yes.
know. So it's okay to
Agreed.
be it's good, okay to be a goofball every once in a while, but you want to do a great job. So I appreciate what you're doing too, Matthew.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions if that's cool, and then we'll let you hop off, man. We've,
Let's
we've
do
been
it.
on here for an hour and 40 minutes.
I told you before we got on air this was going to happen with my big mouth, my rambling, my nerd abilities. So I
It's
don't know.
all
It
good,
could.
brother. I
It,
appreciate it. Like I said, now that's
where
what what's what's some of the best aspects of your career? Something that what do you enjoy the most about it? I mean, I know you from what I hear, it's the collaboration, giving a voice, giving some objective and factual
I
things
love
too.
I love writing. I like trying to provide as best as I can insights that I haven't heard or read anywhere else. I love finding angles that other people aren't looking towards. Um, when I discover that, it's tough as a writer sometimes because I would write a hell of a lot more if I was just focused in on making money. I get paid to write, and there's certain sites that pay me per article. But I would just to write an article is not fun for me because just for the hell of it. I really like try as best as I can, even if I'm covering a news story. Like today, I had a Defenders article that came out about their claims. Right, I'm trying to try to get an angle in there that other people haven't written about or thought about. That's the fun I have just watching the games. Period. Is the best aspect of it. The stories are there, um, and so I love this rise. This period of the year is so cool to me. Like I don't know, it's a constant underdog story. Like
Yep.
that's what I love about these leagues. Like even right now, as you see, like XFL players signing on to NFL teams, USFL players signing on to NFL teams. I love the journey. There's something about this journey that I don't know, like appeals to me. So that's the underdog journey itself. So maybe I didn't articulate that the best way, but that's part of the writing
Makes
there.
sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's part the underdog aspect. Following these players make it, and watching these leagues try to make it when I know the odds are heavily against them, and the writing aspect is to try to be and speaking, I guess, to try to be insightful and try to give angles, that maybe others haven't thought of, or that I love to express certain things I want to express that maybe others are thinking of and or written about, and that maybe I'm matching up with where other people are at in that aspect. So that's the best aspects, as far as that goes.
Gotcha, man. I mean, that's a good answer, and I mean, I'm right there with you. If you watch past episodes, you'll hear me say the exact same thing almost.
That's
It's the
cool.
underdogs. It's the JUCO guys. It's the HBCU guys. It's people that don't get attention. So I mean, I'm right there with you, man. Uh,
I root for these leagues like they're one single team. Like
exactly.
like it's kind of weird to me. Like I don't have a favorite team in these leagues. Like I don't have like that's it's kind of hard. It's hard to be a fan. I'm not saying that there isn't like I'm covering the Defenders, but they're not my team per se.
Understood.
So it's like it's the same. Like honestly, I'm a New York Jets fan. I'm a Toronto Argonauts fan. So I'm critical of both those teams. I cover them, but I'm not. But I don't in these leagues. I root for the entire league to succeed. So I want the entire USFL to succeed because I want the entire XFL to succeed because I know that the odds are against them. So I look at them as like they're one entire franchise. It's kind of an interesting, unique aspect. Because in the NFL, I don't care if the Browns suck. I mean, it's cool if they're good. I mean, fine, so be it. I'm not hating. But if they're 0-17, that's not going to bother me. So the NFL
me
will,
either.
yeah, the NFL is going to still go on. They're still going to make a ton of money. The Browns are not going away. They can lose 5 straight years in a row. They're still going to be around. These leagues, there's no guarantee they'll be around. Like that's why I want to see these leagues survive and make it. So anyhow, that's kind of an answer there.
Understood. Understood. Makes sense, man. I mean, it may not be a movie worthy script you're spouting, but what you're saying comes from the heart and it's true. So I can understand, and it's all good, man.
Thank you.
Let's move on to another question, and this will be the last one. I'll leave you at that. What's your outlook for a successful spring football or alternative leagues such as the XFL or USFL? What do you see being successful, and how are they going to make it successful? Continuing.
Uh, they gotta last. They basically. I know that's not a Hollywood script answer either, right? But that's why my writing is difficult because I got to sit there and think things over. These thoughts that come in my head are random, but takes a while to formulate the right thing. But I will
Understood.
say, yeah, I will say that we mentioned earlier in our conversation that in these leagues need to appeal to more mainstream football fans in order to be successful. They're kind of niche products at the moment. They have limited viewership and there's like a cap on how many people are interested. I think the moment that, little by little, it's not going to happen overnight. But earlier in this conversation, I talked about star players coming from these leagues and becoming star players in the NFL. That will help. That's just one aspect. But you need to start attracting more mainstream football fans, the media. When we get to the point, and I think I've said this about a zillion times, when we get to the point where the outlets that cover these leagues are actually talking about the players and the teams. When we're breaking down the Birmingham Stallions rushing attack, and will they be able to run the ball against the Gamblers front? Or will the defenders be able to pass the ball against the Dragons? When the mainstream outlets are talking about that, and that's part of the daily conversation,
Yes, sir.
that's when you know these leagues have made it.
Yep.
That's when you know these leagues have made, and we haven't reached that point yet. It hasn't, It sometimes we when these leagues are mentioned, even when The Rock is on some outlet and he's asked about the league, it becomes about The Rock's journey. It becomes about him playing with the U. It becomes about all that. They're not really wondering about Jordan Teamo and Chris Blair and his yards per catch and et cetera, and Greg Williams' defense. So I think it has to get to the point where the it has more of an appeal to the mainstream, and that it draws in more football fans for these leagues to be successful and make it. Because I wonder if the audience they currently have now is enough for them to sustain and be around 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know if that's enough, to be honest. Um,
Understood.
one of these leagues, maybe both, but one of these leagues, sooner or later, I contend is going to make it and be around forever. Hopefully, it's one of the leagues that's currently in existence now. Sooner or later, I know some people out there subscribe to the theory that the NFL will one day just do it. But the NFL tried this. I know this is a different era. The NFL actually had not only NFL Europe, but they actually tried to do a spring pro football league with teams in Canada and the United States and markets that didn't have teams. They pulled the plug on it quickly, decided to turn it into a European league, and then they pulled the plug on it immediately. Maybe
What year
one
was that? Do you know? You
this is
recall?
the 90s.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
the world it's the World League of American Football. You had the New York, New Jersey Knights. You had the Montreal Machine. You had I thought it was I thought it was going to be heaven sent. The NFL is starting their own spring pro football league. They're sending NFL players to these teams, and they're going to have teams internationally and in the states. In Canada, and all over, in London, and this is going to be awesome. But they had games on ABC, they had games on the USA Network, all that. It just did not take off in the States. Very quickly, they pulled the plug, decided just making an NFL Europe outlet. That's people forget this. Because in the NFL in the 90s wasn't as popular as it is now, especially in the early going. I remember articles by Peter King. They said, I think it was 10 ways to save a dying and boring league. I could send you that. That was a front cover. So 10 ways to save a boring. And Peter King's one of the best writers out there, one of my favorite writers. And he wrote a whole. The NFL was considered, a fading and boring league in the early '90s. Basketball was taking over and all that. Now the NFL is king and rules the roost. There's nothing more important or more better that's better ratings, etc., etc. So I think one of these leagues is eventually going to make it. I think it has to appeal to more mainstream fans. It has to get beyond us. I hate to put it that way, but
Makes
it's
sense.
yeah, it's that at some point, and I think I don't know what the events are, but I think lasting and being around for a specific amount of time will help these leagues start to convince more people to give them a shot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Solid answer, and I agree 100%. If we had one spring league right now, it would be very big. But since we have two, we're spread out. This fandom is spread thin right now. A lot of people have talked a combination or a merger or whatever, but we know that that's not too likely.
Yeah, you have to make too many things work, but in theory, it would be fun if all of a sudden they said, "Hey, let's do the calendar together. We're major networks. Let's make a 16-team league tomorrow." You got to remember with these leagues too, they have limitations in terms of ratings as well,
Yep.
because they're only in 8 markets. So it's like, okay, well, we can get beyond the fact that USFL, some of their teams are not even in their markets, but they're only in 8 markets. The NFL is as popular as it is, because of fantasy football, because of gambling, because
Yep. Yep. Yep.
somebody who's a fan of the Saints will watch a Browns Cardinals game.
Yep.
Because they're into gambling, they're into fantasy, or they just love the sport so much that they'll watch it. I know I'm a maniac, and I'll watch a game at 3 o'clock in the morning if you put it on.
Yeah.
But they have 32 invested markets, so that's why ratings are so huge. The fantasy, the gambling, and they have fans from every market that'll watch every team. These smaller leagues, they only have 8 markets, and so they only have those specific. You're likely not going to get teams that don't have cities that don't have teams in their markets to watch the XFL, unless it's like casually, So so that's kind of like people in San Diego are not clamoring to watch a Renegades game. So it's like that's kind of the story there. So the larger these leagues can get, the sooner they can get there. The problem is cost of doing that. Everybody wants expansion, but these leagues are as costly as they are right now.
Money, money, money.
Money. But if they ever get to a point where it's 10, 12, 16, and they can sustain that financially, they're going to see a big difference. If these leagues start to grow, the problem is leagues in the past, like the USFL, whatever, they went too big too soon. So they had like already, they were had like 20 plus teams already. And you're seeing that with the European League of Football.
Yep.
They expanded too quickly. And now all of a sudden, teams can't finish the season. Teams can't do this. Owners are bailing, all that. So it's a little worrisome. You got to be a little bit careful how you do that. There's got to be a method to your madness. But if ever one of these leagues gets to the point, if they merge or whatever the hell, if you can get to 12, 14, that will be the ultimate sign of success if they can get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big AAF guy. I went to a lot of the Memphis games, the Express games, in Liberty Bowl. It was a great place, beautiful place. But like you said, they started off in the red. I mean, they didn't have any money. They were looking for an investor when the season started, trying to just pay people checks. So I mean, you got to take your time and get your feet up under you before you can just go and run around. So,
and the
totally
examples of the AAF, which is a league that I love too, and the Memphis Express was an awesome brand, is why leagues like the USFL, why Fox and Redbird are taking more of a fiscally responsible. It's why teams are traveling together. It's why a hub exists all in one location. It's why you see in this thing where there's off-season employees and all this kind of stuff. They're trying to curtail costs because they've seen the example of leagues in the past that went all in too soon, too much money, and then drowned in the sea of bread.
Yep.
So they're trying to they're succeeding at getting past the first stages. The question is to the survival part for the moment. Can they get to the thriving part? That's the key. We'll see. Maybe.
Understood. Great insights, Mike. Appreciate you, man, greatly for coming on. That's the last question I'm gonna pick your ear on. I mean, it's been 2 hours almost, so man, thank you again for coming on, dude. This has been a great show, best show I think I've had so far. So
thank you.
Always welcome back, man. Anytime you want to come on, let me know, please.
Absolutely. I'm my own worst critic, so I always worry that hopefully I wasn't rambling on too long, maybe. So hopefully I did a good job here. Hopefully I didn't put people to sleep out there.
No, man.
I love the questions. And I appreciate that people care. And I thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, Mike. Like I said, keep doing great work, man. You're a pinnacle of this spring football fandom, whether you know it or not. And a lot of people are looking for you for reliable information, and you do it. So thanks, man. It's been great to get to know you more. Just pick your ear and talk to you, see your opinion. I mean, this was as a fan and a media personality at this point. This is an honor for me. So thanks again, man.
Thank you. Seriously. I appreciate that. You're gonna make me blush.
Hopefully next year we'll be able to meet up at some games.
That would be cool.
I'm going to try to do a tour next year and visit more than one stadium. So we'll see how that works.
So
see if I can meet up with you.
Did you go to St. Louis? Did you go to DC?
No. I never went anywhere but Houston and San Antonio. Those are Texas for me. I went to all the Houston games, and then I went to the San Antonio, the championship game. And like I said, just like with the podcast, each one was a learning experience. I mean, by the time we hit that championship, it was full sails ahead, rolling. So I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I got to get out to everyone who's gone to a St. Louis game has told me how amazing that atmosphere is.
I've been there as a fan, but not as a media. Right. So, yes, it is.
The DC atmosphere, though, is something else. It's
like I heard that atmosphere. As well.
Yeah, it is really. it might top the St. Louis fans are gonna get mad, but it might top the St. Louis experience. Now, those fans are rowdy, they're crazy, all that, but it's just a different universe. The DC, it's just like such a different atmosphere. There's so many people that are huge NFL fans and all that have gone to DC games and go, wow, there's no way I'm not coming back. Um, it's just fun. So I guess maybe you got to be a certain younger crowd and all that, maybe to get in all that. And but
Oh,
it's
that
just a different college like, a little
yeah.
bit wrestling, college like atmosphere. Uh, they're just fun. They were. I mean, they're singing songs. I think they even broke out some John Bon Jovi song. So it's just a fun atmosphere, you know. So it's like yeah, those are definitely must if you're into this kind of stuff. If you're into these leagues, those are definitely DC and St. Louis are must go to events, the Defender games. So though yeah, and I would love to meet you, Matthew. So hopefully
Yes,
that's in
sir.
the
Me too,
cards.
dude. Yeah, we'll have to get something worked out, and yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I heard that DC is really nice because it's got that close feel. You know, you're in a soccer stadium, so everybody's on top of the game actually. So it's a whole nother feel compared to being in like the Superdome or the Battle Dome, is what I call it
It's
in
the
St. Louis.
it's the ideal setup for any league really, but for these kinds of leagues, the way you're on top of the action, all that, the acoustics, you feel like you're kind of like on the field. It's just a beautiful Audi Field is beautiful. So it's like it's the perfect size. You kind of like maybe they can add some more seating there. You'd like to be maybe have more fans because that place sold out, but they can sell out more. We could have more fans in there, but it's the perfect size for these kind of leagues. It's the way to go. The Alamo Dome, you can have a nice crowd that's loud, but if it's like 15,000 or 12,000 in that large stadium, it just comes off differently on television. And it might be a great crowd. They've had some great crowds there. It was cool at the championship game to see fans from all over the country there. That was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That was a
yeah.
good example of the success of the XFL, even having Orlando Guardian fans at the game.
Man, the
So,
DC fans came in hard, man. They were everywhere,
and that
everywhere you went.
beer snake going in town, isn't it so awesome?
It was a good
Um,
time.
yeah, so it's good to see. I love to see that kind of atmosphere in these leagues, and so it's good that these DC and St. Louis, those are two things from 2020 that the league wisely held on to, and they paid off to having them
Yep.
back. So that was cool.
Be proud of them both because it's where it's at in terms of fandom right now. Um, you can see just the shows that, like I said, the X Fan show and some others, they've got a huge fan following because that team and their franchise is legitimate in terms of how they love them. So, yeah, man. Thanks again for coming on, Mike. I appreciate you.
And I'll say this last thing. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. You're fine. Like I said.
Talking for this is like a marathon. If by chance, I hate to say it this way, if by chance, and I may have said this somewhere else, but if by chance this XFL doesn't work, the DC Defenders and St. Louis Battlehawks must live on. Whether the USFL gets that trademark or the CFL goes, what the hell? Let's have a St. Louis franchise. Those two need to live on somehow, some way. If this XFL, I know that's XFL fans, may be upset at me even suggesting that the league will not make it past year 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. But I've seen enough where I think St. Louis deserves to have a pro football team,
Yes,
and
sir.
the Battlehawks have such a cool brand and fun brand, as ludicrous as it sounded initially. They have the caca is the law, and the
Mm-hmm.
Defenders have an awesome brand, and they have a fun and they have a cool following. So if by chance, for whatever crazy reason, this XFL doesn't work out, somebody's got to be smart enough to revive immediately the St. Louis and DC. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that point. But I've seen enough where I think any spring football league that's out there needs to have those two cities immediately. So and
Agreed.
those two brands, that's important. Those are well established brands now. So
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. The red and the blue, man. It's iconic at this point amongst us. So
right, exactly.
I understand 100% where you're coming from with that. But anywho, Mike, I guess we'll let you go, man. Like I said, thanks again, brother. This has been fantastic. It's the best 2 hours I've had since I started this live stream event. So I appreciate you, man, greatly.
Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate you.
I've preached and preached about you, man. So thanks again, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night, and God bless you.
Same to you, Matthew. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Until next time, Mike. Much respect. All right. Appreciate Mike, man. Great interview. Oh, hold on. He's still going. He's still going. You still going, Mike? There you are. What'd you say?
Oh, I thought we were rapping. So
Yeah, you're.
we went
Go
long.
ahead.
Thank you.
If you want, do you want to anything that people need to check out? Any articles?
Yeah,
Anything?
yeah, sure. I'm once this is over, this 80-hour
I've got
interview.
your stuff going at the
Uh,
bottom here as well.
Thank you. Once I'm working on a CFL article. I've got an XFL NFL article that should be coming out shortly, hopefully in the next 24 hours or so. So I'm working on that. You can check me out at xflnewshub.com, cflnewshub.com, usflnewshub.com, thejetpress.com, at by Mike Mitchell. So I'm sure that's on the screen there. Thank you, Matthew.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no problem, man. I'll have all your links in the notes as well. So all they got to do is click and go. I mean, they don't even have to put it in the browser. It's as easy as just clicking. So
Awesome.
that'll get everybody rolling. I'm sure that this is the most people I've had just in the actual live stream at one time, with the exception of the X Fan show. So there will be people following. So appreciate you again, man. I didn't mean to cut you off earlier. I thought we were done.
No,
Apologies.
no. I actually thought we were off the air. I thought we were.
I just
I
seen you still
really thought we
going,
were.
so I pulled you back in just in case. I didn't want to interrupt.
I didn't feel like logging off like
You're good.
rudely. So
You're
I thought
welcome to
we
stay, bro.
I thought we were off the air, and so I was like, okay, let me just thank Matthew again and be on my way. But
Yes, sir.
thanks again.
Thank
I
you, man.
appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. Same your way. All right, there's Mike. Mike, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate the conversation, the discussion, the opinions. Great guy. Y'all need to check him out on all socials as well as his XFL News Hub, USFL News Hub stuff. Look forward to talking with him again when the season starts. Like I said, once the season starts, we're going to have a lot of stuff going, a lot of different things. Honestly, I didn't intend on sitting on here for 2 hours, so this is out of ordinary, but it was necessary when you have someone great as Mike Mitchell to talk to. So thanks again, Mike. Much respect, brother. Keep up the work and keep being positive and doing your thing. Oh, okay. So the rest of the show, guys, I mean, that's about it. I just wanted to do a couple more things in terms of introducing folks. So I've got some guys that I told you are joining the fold in terms of contributors. Jesse Dice, he's done a couple things for us, maybe 2 or 3 now, and look forward to getting him on air soon. But in the meantime, let's see. I got a couple other guys I want to introduce and just talk about. You will see them on Facebook. You'll see them on my Facebook some. You'll see them doing things. Great guys. Avion Plummer and Mike Girardi. Mike, did I say your name wrong? Mike, if I said your name wrong, comment. Mike Girardi. That's how I say it. Girardi. Oh, God, I'm the worst. Mike is with Ambush Sports. He's credentialed media as well. He covered San Antonio, and he's a San Antonio fan, of course. Great guy. He comes out with some great stuff. He's very detail oriented. He comes in, he likes to back his opinion up with things that are factual and real. So I really look forward to what he provides the show in terms of talking points, coverage, and just write-ups about different topics. Trying to talk him to get him on air still, but he's not big on the on-air stuff. And I understand it took me a while to open up to it myself. So, Mike, appreciate you, man. Look forward to talking with you more and getting some of your work. Seriously. All right. Lastly, I got Avion Plummer. Now, me and Avion sat down yesterday and we talked for probably 2 hours, but about 30 minutes on air. Had a little intro interview, and I'm going to stream that very soon. I will say that when we started, I was calling him Avion. His name is Avion, so that's my apologies there. You'll hear me refer to him as Avion numerous times, but it's Avion. So, Avion, I appreciate you, man. He's active on the Facebook groups as well as discussions. He's posting updates, videos, stuff that's necessary for fans and engaging them. So, appreciate that, man. I'm going to get into that interview and then we'll close it out after it's done. Y'all won't see me again for the rest of the show. It's probably about 30 minutes long. Sit and listen to it if you'd like. I mean, just getting to know him more and what he's bringing to the party. This is great. Look forward to getting more people and contributing spots on the show, interviews. That's what I'm about, and that's what I'm trying to do. So it's really great. In terms of like co-host duties, we'll see what happens in the long term. But right now, we just want some people contributing and providing some great content, so we can have some discussion points as well as some information that I don't have time to research or look up. So appreciate you guys both for coming along, as well as Jesse Dice, great guy, and really look forward to the work he's doing as well. He's the one that came out with the EJ Hillard interview, and he's rolling as well. So in other news, I want to say thanks to XFL, Ambush Sports, as well as XFL Board. XFL Board's done some great things for me. They've really helped me and got me off the ground running, as well as Ambush. Both of those places are fantastic, especially when you're starting in new. You need some mentorship. You need some guys to help you out. That's the places to be, and it really helped me out in terms of what I'm doing now. So thanks all those groups, and as well as the XFL. Thank you for letting me cover. It's an honor. It's a privilege. Like I always say, I do it for the love. So that's why I'm here. I'm going to keep doing it. So appreciate you guys. Now, I will say also, check for the August schedule to drop tomorrow night. I'll have like 4 shows probably planned for August. Not as many as July, just because I got a lot of stuff going in August. So right now, I believe we're looking at the 6th and the 8th for our next shows. We'll have Anthony Miller joining us on the 8th, so that'll be a really good one as well. He's a great contributor to the whole alt sports game in general, so it'll be a great conversation. And anyway, we'll stream that. I'll stream some kind of schedule. We'll post some pictures tomorrow evening, and so we can know what's going on with that. Come September, October, it should be fair game again. I'll be rolling. So just pay attention, guys. Once I always say, like, thank you for following. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for being here. It's every live stream's a lesson. Everything's a blessing. So appreciate you guys for following and the questions, the support, all great things. Keep it up. The more notoriety, the more respect that's shown that's the better interviews I'm going to get. That's the better guest spots that we're going to have. So that's really what we're searching for right now. Going to stream this interview, get it started. Like I said, that'll be the end of the show. So follow me, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Instagram's kind of lame right now. I'm working on it, but everything else is rolling. So please follow, like, and share. Do it for the love. And I hope that we're providing some good content for everybody at home. All right, guys, I'm going to stream this interview and then I'm going to get out of here. It's been 2 hours and 8 minutes. My Lord, did not think I'd be on this long tonight. All right, well, it's about to kick up. Appreciate you guys listening once again. See you soon. Avion, how's it going, man? Welcome to the XFL Insider Podcast. Great to have you. Great to talk to you, man.
Doing good. I'm excited, Matt. I'm excited.
You ready to go?
Yeah. Yes. I was about to say the H word, but absolutely, man. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for the opportunity, and glad to be on the show, and glad to be on the show as well.
We appreciate you, man. I look forward to getting your insight and some opinions from you. I feel like me and you are going to have some pretty good discussions, and in those discussions, I think we both are going to have some different opinions, which is great. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Absolutely, man. Just to create a discourse about the XFL is always exciting, just to talk about.
Yep. So, Avion, you've done a lot of stuff on Facebook. I see you very active in the groups. You're not there just spouting your opinion. You're actually presenting news, presenting articles, and trying to keep the fan engagement going. But it's very positive. Don't see anything negative. So appreciate you coming on board, dude. I've been watching you for a couple weeks now, and it's a really good thing that we got more people that are passionate and ready to go when it comes to the XFL, as well as any other alt sports. Now, if you want, man, just tell everybody more about yourself. Where you come from, your background, what you hope to accomplish while doing this with the XFL Insider Podcast.
Awesome, awesome. Well, my name's Avion. I'm from born and raised in Philadelphia, PA. The land of not holding your tongue. But I lived there for mostly all my life. Until I went to college. Then I migrated to Hawaii, where I studied at the University of Hawaii in communications. But was a huge sports fan. Sports fan in my life. you know, when I was sad at times, or when I was going through some things, and like paying bills and stuff like that, like life stuff. I would always go to sports or pop on Sports Center in the morning when I first wake up, and like, yeah, it's gonna be a good day. you know,
Yes, sir.
um, yes, sports. I'm diehard Vikings fan for over 23 years. You know, Mets fan. All teams that struggle to win in the postseason. so but I am a Toronto Raptors fan, basketball wise too. So we did win the championship. But other than that, um, you know, been monitoring sports. In other sports groups. I was on a popular podcast called A Player's Choice. It's a sports podcast online where I was a guest on there, just talking and speaking on sports and just sharpening my sword. You know, try to get try to do this. And get better. Um, Overall, I did join the military. I am currently in the National Guard, so I'm presently doing that. But I being an XFL fan, started back in 2020. I became a fan when I saw PJ Walker and the way he flashed, and he was like a superhero out there. Barely got touched, running dudes over, had an arm, stuff like that. And then I fell in love, watching him, and then later on watching the league. Even though it lasted for 5 weeks, it had potential, man. Fans was coming out, and when it went bankrupt, I said to myself like, man, that's it's tragic, because you saw the impact it had on people's lives.
Yep.
Then in 2022, I believe, Danny Dwayne made announcements that the XFL was returning. I was pumped. Um, I was pumped. Number one, I thought it was a great opportunity for college athletes as well, who to get a second opportunity. As I work for the University of Hawaii media department with their team, so I'm around the NCAA. I take their practices and take the games. So we're in like the Mountain West, and then and we play like Pac-12 teams. Well, former Pac-12, that's the conversation. But yeah, I've been around sports. Anytime I can get around sports or a job in sports, man, that's what I want to do. I'm currently getting my master's in communications, and hopefully get my PhD and work for maybe a media company relating to sports on the mainland someday. So that's my goal, man. I am a Vegas Vipers fan. Another sad situation. I don't know about me. I like to go through the struggle in the muck first. Before I to join on a team. This way I can say I've been through the bad times and the good times. But um. When you call me up or when you text me about joining the XFL Insider Podcast, for me, it was an opportunity for me to get myself out there. And number two is, to talk about the XFL. I believe the XFL is growing. It's exciting, um, and it's a way for people to, I guess, to interact with each other. My job that I want to bring to the podcast is number one, talk about the news, updates, transactions, anything related to the XFL as it develops and expands. Talk about expansions, and stuff like that. And I might give my takes, my opinions, stuff like that, but I never want to be like one sided. I'm always going to, my takes always adjust based on the information that is given to me.
Understood.
Um, so um, I'm just happy, man. I'm excited. I'm excited right now. It is 5 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. So the
Ooh
folks
wee.
out there, the folks out there who are watching this, hey, I'm committed to y'all. And another thing is, for the XFL right now, because it's giving players opportunities, it's giving people around the country, around the world, opportunities to see these players that wasn't known from these quote unquote small colleges that you never heard of. So these small colleges that in FCS or in other conferences that don't get looks at all, and get recruited to these XFL teams. These players have another way to get their name out there. That sometimes you just go to school and think, oh, I'm play football at this unknown school and I'm just going to get a degree and that's it. No, you have another option now. Hey, let me go to the XFL and get my name out there. And that's what I'm passionate about with the XFL, because they're doing it. A land of opportunity. Well, the opportunity is happening. These showcases going around for IFL players, these small colleges all around the countries. These players are getting their shine on, and I love how they tell these players' life story. Unknown players you never heard of, and now you're trying to check their background now, talking about who is this guy. Who is this Dallas Daniels from that Jackson State? Who is this Malachi Whiteman? This guy in the supplemental draft that didn't get drafted. They have, off-season issues and stuff like that. You get to look at their background and stuff like that, and get their story. And tell their side. And I love how the XFL, number one, they're always, every interview that they do in games, they get the positive life
Yep.
of
Yep.
that person, positive background, instead of negative, the same old other media point out the negative, the bad background, somebody died in their family, stuff like that. No, they focus on their game, they focus on the present right now, and the impact on the game itself. So that's what I want to be like, man. I want to talk about these XFL players, or these potential XFL players. As you interview them, just pick their brain. Pump them up, man. Because they
Yes,
should
sir.
be excited. They should be excited. And doing this podcast, that's what I want to do, is lift players up that's going through the process of getting into the league, talk about their stories, their backgrounds, to get their names out there as well. So it's not about me. It's about helping these players and helping the league spread awareness on the league as it expands. So yeah,
Look forward to it, man. You sound super excited. That's what I like the most about talking to you. It's that no
yeah,
matter when we talk, no matter what time we talk, you're on it, bro. So,
I'm on it. I'm
yep.
I'm either here on the Facebook XFL, both groups actually. So I'm always interacting, even doing work. Even though I can get in trouble. I'm still posting stuff. And trying to interact as much as possible. Might sneak to the bathroom and text.
You better
Post
watch it.
stuff.
They might hear
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I mean, yeah. But yeah. I'm excited. And that's how much I love the game of football. So yeah.
I look forward to getting you on, man. Now, I want to say on the air, I plan on getting you on the Facebook group with the podcast also. So
Hmm.
check for him doing some moderations, posting some pages and such from the actual Facebook podcast page. Avion, that's my bread and butter coming in. That was what really got me involved in the XFL world. That Facebook is what started everything for me, honestly. Just a couple postings like you did, and then it just took off.
Yeah.
And from here, we just try to make more productive content that really is valuable and that people really want to see. So, man, I'm so happy to have you on. Look forward to the work you do, what you provide, the show, the fans, the players. I'll tell you the best piece about this so far has been working with the players or potential players or guys in the IFL, whatever. Once you get to hear these stories, once you get to know
Hmm.
these fellas, talk to them, see their struggles, see their successes, that is what makes everything go with this show. So I think what you say, your motivations, you're going to really enjoy what we do here. And like I said, there's no financial gain. We do it for the love. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
another part, man. I mean, we're here because we want to be. We're not here because we have to be.
Absolutely. That's I mean, that's what it's all about. One day I told you, I don't care about the financial or the sponsor. As we get sponsors throughout the show, that's our main goal, to get as many sponsors as possible. But for me, I want to do this for free because I want to build a brand. And number one, number two is, just talk about the game.
Yes, sir.
And that's why we're here, yeah, and it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
I appreciate you, man. Like I said, I look forward to your work, talking with you more. I feel like, in the off season, we're going to have some good conversations, but we're
Oh
really going to be
yeah,
more productive when it comes to in season.
oh
Once things take off, we're going to have a lot to talk about. We're going to have a lot
a
to
lot.
discuss. We both bring different avenues of play, of thoughts, so it's going to work out well. And either way, man, like I said, look forward to having you. Appreciate you. It makes me super happy for today. So thank you for waking up for us and discussing this a little more.
Yeah. I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that coffee you're drinking right now. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but I'm looking forward to it, and let's get to work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, before we go, I mean, is there anything else you want to share with the fans or people at home that are listening, just about yourself, just about anything you want to share? I just want to give you the floor.
I definitely want to tell the fans, please keep monitoring our the Facebook page for updates and everything like that, and also more XFL news as it comes out, because this is like you said, it is going to be a busy off season.
Yep.
So we got
Yep.
a lot of content on the way. We're gonna get our schedules worked out and stuff like that. But yeah, we got a lot of content there, and a lot of news. So we're never gonna I'm never gonna quit on you guys, on you fans. As the season develops, yeah, I'm gonna work hard 100%. Even if I gotta wake up 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or the whole clock. So yeah, but other than that, I'm just thankful for you, Matt, and also XFL fans for giving me a chance. A guy from Philadelphia. Hey, we hold no punches, so I'm trying to hold back a little bit. So hey, let's do it.
I love it, man. Love your passion. You as a person, your personality is great. So, like I said, look forward to what we do together and the collaborations here. Now, I do have another contributor, Jesse Dice. He's done a little bit of work. I'm trying to get him on air. He should be on soon as well. Maybe we can all hook up together and meet very, very soon. I
Hmm.
know with your schedule, it's a little different, so we'll see what happens. Guys, we'll try to get him on a live. If not, we'll pre-record some pieces and stick them into the live. It's just due to his schedule. I mean, so you're in Hawaii Standard Time. What is the
Yeah,
difference? The difference from Central Time is 5 hours. Is that correct?
5 hours, five
Gotcha.
hours,
So it'd be
five
6 hours
hours.
from Eastern.
Yeah. No, yeah, 6 hours from each one. Yep,
Yep. Yep.
yep,
So
yep, yep.
see, guys, he really wants it because it's going to be waking up or staying up late either way. So
But I will be watching the podcast during my work. I like I have the sound on and stuff like that, so I will be listening as well. But yeah, we're gonna try to make it live. But we definitely gonna pre-record it on that. But yeah, we're gonna try to make it live. Because I want to be there 100%, and I want to give the fans what they want. They want somebody that's gonna be committed, and I want to be committed. So hey, I'm ready.
awesome, bro. Thanks again for coming on, man. Great
Yeah, yeah.
conversation. Look forward to your insights, your opinions, your postings. I look forward to your work. So keep up the positivity, though, bro. That's the hardest thing, is to stay positive in all this and not get caught up in that negativity. And you do a very good job from what I see. So thanks,
Yeah.
man. Look
Thank you.
forward to getting you
Appreciate
on
that.
officially and having more going very, very, very soon.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up for us, guys. Like I said, this was pre-recorded. Had to get him in when we could. Appreciate his time. Thank you for getting up, Avion. Greatly appreciate it. Uh,
Wow.
like I said, look forward to him on Facebook and the podcast and any other form and fashion. So thanks again, bro.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
You too.